Hello. Let's go.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be okay.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Sorry, I forgot the Twitter X post. Putting it up right now. There we go. Okay. Hey, look. Thank you for bearing with me and us as we went through this Tricksters summer event. Now, it's important to recognize that there's a lot of things in play. And as I like to point out, that the entirety of these things are data points. These are people creating narratives out of thin air, okay? And me specifically, okay? So I'm not blaming anybody else, and I'm not even apologizing. I'm saying that it's important to recognize all of the things happening around us all the time, okay? Except humans weren't meant for a trillion data points. We weren't supposed to be, parsing propaganda and doing all the wild stuff that we do in the modern space. And not just that, dealing with trickster elements and bad faith actors and, politics or politricks, shout out Herschel, like that type of stuff, right? It's endless, it's maddening, and it's really not fair to the evolutionary space from which we came. And so it's important to recognize that when I say this show is a show about narratives, it's just a show about storytelling. It's a show about not just mythology and folklore, but also what it means to be human and how all that comes together in a modern space. That's what this has always been about, and kind of looking at what comes next. And that's what tonight is about. It's sort of a retrospective on the past several weeks here of this Trickster summer event that we've been holding on Troubled Minds. But then also beyond that, did you feel something? Is there some sort of change, a sea change happening in the mind's eye of all of this? And how do you feel about disclosure? And do you think the Trickster is still among us? There's so many things to think about and so many things to talk about. And that's exactly why we do this show, because there's so many ways to look at the world. And that's the point. It's always been the point. Look, I'm not doing this to try to come to some grand conclusion. I'm doing this because I think it's important to point out the things that we all recognize. Okay. Very simply. It's as simple as that. And in this particular case, I'm calling this tonight the Recessional. Tricksters and ordinary time. Now, the Trickster, of course, sort of steps in like the Saturnalia event, and where the rulers become slaves and the slaves become rulers, the inversion aspect of a holiday tradition. Okay. Well, then beyond that, there's also the sort of ritual closing where everything just kind of goes back to normal. And the Trickster element, the Trickster himself, actually just sort of recedes into the background of what's known as ordinary time. Now, ordinary time is a very simple thing. It's a religious term that really means that, you know, it's not Easter, it's not Lent, it's not Passover. It's very simply the time between. Okay, after all that's done, after Easter is done, and it kind of responds back to this ordinary time aspect. It doesn't mean it's less important. It just means that there's sort of no ritual coming in the near future. Okay. And this is what I'm looking at when I'm talking about this tonight, when I'm talking about the actual Trickster and this Recessional. As the season ends, this Trickster season, we've got the 4th of July. Happy 4th to those that celebrated. Happy Independence Day. I hope everybody is happy and healthy and safe and all the rest of the things. As I said in the Discord, I'm very glad that there was no actual, you know, mass casualty event, because that's what I was really worried about as a 250th, you know, FU to America from some bad faith actor out there, some terrorist group or something. And I didn't even want to say it. I didn't invoke it because I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to sort of speak things into reality. So it was a concern that I had, but we got through that. And, you know, thankfully that we're here. Hopefully everybody's safe. Hopefully everybody's better for it. Hopefully you had a good time and the celebration landed well with you and yours. Now, the reason I'm talking about this tonight and in this particular space is because that Recessional is the exit of this Trickster back to leading us back to this space of ordinary time. Now, so what we're going to do tonight is a little different. Well, I don't have a grand narrative. It's more of a what did we gain from this past 10 weeks, 12 weeks, however many weeks this has been. This is the 9th episode of the actual Trickster summer event. And so I think a retrospective is in order. Do you like sort of a longer series like this? Do you think it's too much? Maybe 4 or 5 is better. I don't know. I'd like some feedback on how we kind of went through this. And not only that, the wild part about what we take from it, because I think with every single ritual working, and you bet your bippy that the 250th anniversary of the United States of America was a ritual binding, a mass working on a global scale. It wasn't just here; it was everywhere. There were people celebrating the 4th of the world over. And by the way, that should tell you something. Like, that doesn't happen for, you know, Canada's Independence Day. Like, we don't even know when it happens here in the States. No offense to our Canadian friends. I'm just saying, right? It should tell you something. It should tell you something, a great deal about America and about who we are, and that we're lucky to be here because, again, people risking their lives the world over to kind of make their way here and just have the opportunity that we have as sort of a birthright. Okay. So, and that's to us Americans, like I said, our Canadian friends and people that live abroad. You're welcome to this. I'm not trying to exclude anybody as part of the conversations. You know me, that's not my way. I'm just pointing out from my perspective. I'm feeling pretty lucky in the moment. But so that's where we're at tonight, sort of a retrospective of ideas, kind of looking at the Trickster element. And as it kind of fades away into the dog days of summer, as they call it in the baseball year, it also gets to the point where the Trickster will resurface, because we're always talking about these grand cycles. We were talking about Bach tunes recently, and sort of the larger aspect of what happens in these human archetypes. You can kind of forget about them. You can kind of put them to bed, but they always resurface in some capacity. And so I've got a couple thoughts on what we can take out of these conversations. And I think every conversation we have is pretty rich. It's pretty deep. It's pretty engaging in a lot of different ways, which is good. I'm not trying to feed anybody a crock of BS. I'm just trying to say, let's look at the world a little differently, and then let's talk about it. It's simple, right? But then on top of that, I think there are some, recent takeaways that kind of came out of this for me. Even if you don't believe the CERN stuff, even if you don't believe, well, I don't care what you believe. And I mean that in the nicest way. Not that You get it. I don't have to explain myself. Anyway, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Shut up, Mike. We're taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the conversation, the number to call is 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And just sort of a retrospective on this. And what do you know about this ordinary time, Tricksters, this recessional idea? And do you think, I don't know, maybe is it time for a break? Maybe we take a 6-month Troubled Minds break or something. I don't know. I'm just hoping you all vote for that so I can get some rest. But anyway, one more time, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in just one moment after a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that would be, glad to have you back there, Fred. I see you. What is the sponsor? Let me find the button. Well, whichever button I find. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. Please do not go anywhere. Let's see. This button. There we go. Yep. Feeling stressed, overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so that's where we start. Like I said, sort of a retrospective, more of a call-in show if you guys are interested in just kind of chatting it up and talking about these ideas. But disclosure, I think, is really heavy on my mind at this point. And disclosure of what? We've talked a lot about that recently. And I'll start with actually some of the things, one of the big takeaways that came out of this that maybe started as a fictional thread, as a, sort of a, well, what about this, guys? How wild is that idea? But I think it's important. And so I'm going to point out that we talked about CERN being shut off recently. And somebody on X had posted something to the effect of, now that CERN is shut off, you guys should really start keeping a dream journal. And I thought about that. And, they may be completely unrelated, and that's completely cool. But I think something we can bring out of the conversation as part of this is to take something actionable into the coming ordinary time, the non-trickster space. Well, it's always here, but you get my meaning. As it exits and the ordinary time becomes waiting for the next trickster cycle, whenever the trickster arrives again at his own behest, not ours, that we end up in the space of having something to show for it. And in this case, I think that idea of dream journaling weighs heavily on my mind as part of this. And have I been dreaming more recently in the past 6 weeks? Yeah, you bet your ass I have. And it's weird because I typically don't remember my dreams. We've talked about this quite a lot in the past. But what I should be doing, I had another weird one last night. I should be writing these things down. So as part of this, the larger arc of this, I'm going to start with saying, I think that for those of us that do not dream journal, I think it might be a worthy process to, I don't know, maybe glean some insights that we really have never challenged ourselves with personally. And that's what I'll start with. But anyway, just again, calling this the Recessional, Tricksters, and Ordinary Time. And did you like the long event? Did you like any of this? And how do you feel about disclosure now? And what about America the 4th? And yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at. That's what I got. Tons of stuff. Read the write-up if you haven't. It's pretty good. And it's just sort of a recap of all the things that we've talked about. And of course, this new idea of the Recessional, Tricksters, and Ordinary Time. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James in Michigan, Salcedo Paranormal. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. Thanks for being patient. Nice work over there with Ricky and Jen, slaying it as always. Welcome. How you feeling tonight? Go right ahead.
Oh, yeah, glad to be here. That was a great, fun time talking with both of them, both Jen and Ricky. And, but yeah, this is, it's, I don't know, the disclosure thing, I'm always skeptical and always at this point thinking, well, it's all going to sort of fade out for a while and then start up again at some other point. And it reminds me of something I was thinking of when you were talking about this, this concept of ordinary time. because from a storytelling point of view, especially from like a long form story, like a novel or something, you can't just have action for the entire thing nonstop. Whatever that action may be, you can't just have everything amped up the whole time. There has to be sort of these quiet parts and loud parts in a story. There's still things happening, sort of like what you described there, but there has to be this sort of, I don't know, I guess you'd almost call it like a wave, or like this difference in activity or difference in something that I think you have to have for any kind of a long story. And it seems like it's happening. I'm noticing that now, maybe throughout everything that we do, you do on these shows and all these things. I'm starting to notice that now with sort of similar periods in time in whatever this reality is, and which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows. And that's really the folklore aspect of this, and why we do this in the format we do, because like I said, we are always sort of really replicating these cycles over and over and over again. And, I think you can kind of pick and choose your entry and exit point as part of those narratives. But also, I don't think they're as easily quantifiable as it might seem because, of the trillion data points I'm always talking about. But of course, the element of the trickster itself is kind of sneaky by nature. And so just because you spot some things like we did, and it was very, very synchronistic, heavy in terms of what we talked about this summer, the past several weeks, but also maybe it's not done. Maybe this continues. And just because I'm sort of putting the narrative to bed for a moment, it may not mean the recessional is the trickster leaving. It might hide for a minute and then kind of pop back when you least expect it, which is that element of the trickster itself, of these folklore cycles, which we continue to live over and over and over again. And that's really the point, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, without the internet, we would probably notice that trickster kind of aspect would leave certain areas, and we'd have no idea when it pops up in other areas again without that huge interconnectivity that we have now. And so I don't think it would ever, something that is sort of part of what, I don't know, part of the mechanics of reality, whatever that is, whether it's an entity or not, I don't know if it would ever actually stop completely. I would just imagine it would just move to another location on the planet, or who knows, other planets, who knows. Again, just, there's still mysteries out in space that we don't know how they happen or how they exist. So that aspect of reality could always be busy. We just don't always notice it.
Yeah, exactly. And any takeaways from this? What's your feedback on sort of a longer series like we did? Do you enjoy that? Do you think that maybe it could be shorter? It could be longer? Maybe we do 3 packs or something like that. I don't know. Like, I wonder about formats a lot when it comes to these discussions. Like, you guys are all great. All the callers we have are all very top notch and on the game and understanding of my wild ideas that come out of nowhere sometimes. But I don't know. I kind of like the series, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't have to wonder about what comes next. Like if I have to do a three episode series, then it's easier for me to plan, and they should get better, the second one and the third one, because now I really kind of know exactly where we're headed, what we discussed, some of the things we left on the table the last time. You know what I mean? So it's easier on me. But I also recognize there's some repetition sometimes, and I don't know. How did you feel about the entire thing? And like I said, it was complicated and all over the place. But I do think there was a lot of really gold information in that space. And maybe it's still ongoing. Maybe it's part of this disclosure thing into possibly the winter and into Saturnalia itself. Who really knows? But I don't know. How did you feel about the series? And more or less, yeah or nay?
I think maybe that 3, going with sets of 3 might be the best way. I think, for one thing, it'll be easier if someone misses the first one. Then all they have to do is listen to one, or even if they miss the first 2, that's only 2 shows they have to listen to. Because if you're talking sets of 8 or 9 like this, it's funny because like with what I do for my show, I technically could put out like 8 to 10 short shows per week, but I've had feedback from people that listen that say, no, I'm already, what you put out is already enough for me. I don't have a ton of time to listen to a lot more. So I think maybe the sets of 3 might be a really good idea because it's sort of in the middle there in general, compared to 1 versus 9 or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think so. I agree. That's good feedback. And I just think that there was so much information as part of this one that there's no way we're going to be able to do it in 3 episodes. But yeah, anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight. Look, looking at sort of the retrospective of the past 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks of not just Troubled Minds. And look, I've had a hell of a run too. All my cars broke at the same time, and like all kinds of weird stuff has been happening to me. That nobody's sick, nobody's hurt, thank God. But, like things that the Trickster kind of rears its ugly head in different ways that are unrelated to these discussions at all. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's been kind of a cruel summer. Shout out Bananarama and the Karate Kid soundtrack. Yeah. But beyond that, in looking into where we're at and where we're headed, I think there's plenty of fertile ground, not just for continuing Trickster elements, because they're definitely going to be part of this show going forward. But, I'll kind of leave it in the rearview mirror for a bit and for just a little bit and see what happens and what comes next, because there's a ton of information, ton of Troubled Mind style things that we should be talking about as well. But fire stuff, what else you got? We got a few minutes left if you got anything. If not, I can ramble us into the break. I see you, Matthew in Colorado. We'll take you right after the break so you get some time. And just hanging out, talking this recessional idea, Tricksters in Ordinary Time. And what does it mean to us now? And what does it mean for the coming cycles, the folklore cycles that we do or don't recognize? Because just remember that you don't have to be part of a ritual for a ritual to take place, especially sort of a society-wide ritual like this 4th of July event. If you didn't celebrate, it didn't matter because it still happened. There were millions and millions and millions of people that were. So just a reminder that some of these things, right, even if you're like, nah, I'm not really interested in that, happens with or without you. So just a reminder there. But if anything else, James, go right ahead.
Yeah, I am fascinated. It cracked me up when some of these sports synchronicities that Derek and Rivers and you all found and talked about before. They, the whole alien connection thing between the some of the players and the team names and all that. Those teams and players did not end up winning their respective titles or championships or whatever. I thought that was very much Trickster-like. So I think that is one aspect of things that kind of amused me in a way because I'm not into sports.
Test 1, 2. Did the internet take a crap? Can you guys hear me in the stream? James cut out, but it could be me. Uh-oh. I hear you now. Are you there?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So you didn't hear any of that, or
just lost like about 15, 20 seconds of what you just said. So you mentioned the sports thing.
Oh, okay.
And then you mentioned that it was interesting and funny that the people that kind of were lined up to win didn't as part of the Trickster element, and then you cut out right after that.
Yeah, no, I was just saying happy to sit in with you. Funny enough, as more things come to me and listen to all the calls.
Right on. Looking forward to it. What do you guys know? Again, I'm calling this the Recessional. Now it is just sort of the reverse order of the Trickster spirit coming into play here. And these are just things we've noticed, right? Like the pattern recognition expert of being a human being. But beyond that, there's all kinds of things always in play. And I think the Trickster is probably a daily basis sort of thing, right? You were the day you decide to wear the white shirt to work, you spill the coffee all over the white shirt on the way out the door type of thing, right? Like, I mean, yeah, it's bad luck, or maybe you put it in your head and jinxed yourself, or I don't know. I think there's definitely this element in play every single day, but I think sometimes some seasons seem to be more packed with these ideas. And, I don't know. And the ritual, as it kind of puts itself to bed here. And like I said, remember we started with the Trickster element of disclosure and the disclosure ritual. And then of course, the disclosure, Steven Spielberg. I mean, there's so many things that stacked up as part of this, the sports ball stuff that started all of it, the Trickster Coyotes and the NBA and the Golden Knights of Area 51. I mean, there were so many things happening that I think this is probably worth a book at some point. There's so many things you can kind of really break down and put into the synchronistic A, B, C, D, E, F, G type of thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think? As usual, I don't know the answers, and all the disclaimers do apply as part of these discussions. I don't proclaim to be a wizard or anything like that. I'm just me. I'm just a guy interested in wild ideas and wondering what we know about the seen and the unseen. And I'm talking the realms, of course. But that's it. It's very simple. If you want to be part of the conversation tonight, taking your calls, 702-857-6939. That's 702-857-6939. Here with James, of course, the glue of the show, the paranormal expert, SalcedoParanormal.com. Please go give him a follow on all the places. What do you know about this? Tricksters, ordinary time. Do you think the recessional is let's say a good way to name this, or do you think that I'm fooling ourselves or myself? 702-857-6939. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Be right back. And I'm also tongue-tied. What the hell? Catch you guys in just one moment.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Okay, also, does this remind you of Kenny Loggins and Pooh Corner? Here we go.
Nobody's asking for one more. The season had its hour, had its say. Now it walks itself away. He's not caught, and he's not gone, just back to the crossroads, waiting on the next door to open somewhere down the line. Ordinary now, but not unkind. That's ordinary time now. Watch it anyway. Nothing's been resolved, but nothing has to stay. The mask comes off the same way that it went on. Seasons closed, the crossroads carries on. Small page, one open book, kept long after nobody looks. Not the answer.
Not sure if I love it or hate it. What's up, Eric? James, Eric, what's up? Joe in Florida. We got Matt in Colorado coming up. Dragon Rose, Herschel, what's up? Matt's out. That's Roving Fungus, Daryl, what's up? APOC, Sacha, Joey, Don't Panic, and the Robert. I see you guys over to Rumble. Hello, good evening. Thanks to Ricky, and anything is possible for the raid over there. Margie got first on Rumble. Nostradamus, hello, was not available. I see you guys. Hope everybody's well tonight. There's the Puff sighting. James is there. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, hello. I missed you guys as we go. Sorry about that. Just trying to burn through and get all the names real fast. But thanks for a little too slow. Yeah, this song's a little too slow. Agreed. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, look, as usual, I just trying to mix things up a little bit. Eli gets first over there on YouTube. What's up? Welcome back, Fred. Been a minute. We did miss you. Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Hello. Who did I miss? James is there. Steve in England. He also is watching football. Yeah, not me really. It makes me mad because I don't understand the rules. Okay, here we go. Trouble Minds happening now. Let's go. We got more from James. We got Matthew in Colorado on your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we break down this Trickster summer event. We're talking a series. We're talking not just a synchronicity storm, but a synchronicity storm possibly of the century. Now, what does it mean? And, I'm calling it the Recessional because, of course, this is sort of the reverse aspect, sort of the filing out of the moment and wondering what comes next. How are you feeling about disclosure? How are you feeling about the Trickster energy? How are you feeling about the 4th of July and all the rest of the things that just went down? And that's it. That's what I want to talk about. Just want to hang out and kind of let some air out of some pressure and some air, a pressure release valve night to just kind of get together and talk about these ideas. What were some of your favorite parts? Some feedback on the series, what we could do better in the future, all the rest of that stuff, because of course this is not just about me. This is about us and how these shows come together and how you guys enjoy them. I don't want to do them if you guys aren't enjoying them. So it is important feedback for me. Love to hear your thoughts. A lot of things in play here. The Trickster always on the top of my mind because it's always prevalent, always relevant, and always in our face, whether we know it or not. And that's that. One more time, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. James, anything to add? If not, we'll go to Matthew in Colorado.
Just that I think, as part of that other that causes anomalous things to happen that so often does seem to be somewhat of a trickster, I think that it may also be responsible. Wouldn't surprise me if it is somewhat responsible for the whole disclosure thing, sort of that trickster aspect of, yes, you'll get disclosure, no problem. It's coming, happen any day now. And, it seems just go on and on. So anyway, that's all I have for now.
Right on. Herschel in the chat says repression, recession. It's all the same to me, man. I love it. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And if you guys don't know, the reason I do that is to buy us time to get the caller in here because, anyway. Matthew in Colorado. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. Just hit the thing and then pop on in and unmute and you should be good to go. Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. As you know, brevity is always your superpower. What do you got for us tonight? Welcome and fire away.
Well, I'd like to pick up with your introduction about dreaming eternally. And I think it's awesome. Well, as you know, I'm aware, talked about dreaming, talked about your dream. And in the past, disclosed that you weren't particularly good at remembering your and everybody dreams. Not everybody's good at remembering.
Hey, real quick, hold the thought. Just before we get too deep into this, there's something going on with your phone where if it's speaker or something, you're just far enough away where it's cutting off the end of what you're saying. So fix that. Otherwise, this call is going to be a disaster. We'll only hear like 80% of it. So please find out where that mark is and then correct. I'll let you know.
Okay. Let me see. How am I coming through now?
Talk a little bit.
I don't have an option to switch to like off of.
Just get close to it. If you're on speaker, just get close to it. You're fine. Just stay close enough to where it doesn't, because basically you're getting like a cutoff, like a noise reduction, noise gate cutoff. But just stay close to it and you should be good. Go.
That happened the other night with the introduction saying. But anyways, yeah, I'm 2 inches away from. So.
Okay, and still cutting out. So maybe speak up a little bit. Just do whatever you can to help me out here, because like I said, you're cutting out pretty bad.
Okay. Tell you what, let me drop out and come back in.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, sometimes phone stuff is weird, especially Bluetooth or speakerphones or whatever else. That's Matthew in Colorado. I'll get back to him in a second here. But no, I was looking at this, and I was looking at this show tonight and sort of the retrospective of where we came from and the whole synchronicity space. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And we left so much off the table too, because it's really difficult, as I said last show, to synthesize all of this stuff into a coherent piece. It really is. But it doesn't change the fact that all this stuff really is swirling and happening around us all the time. And so it doesn't mean something. That really becomes the question. Like, what level of meaning can you take from it? And that's why I wanted to kind of look at it in terms of, what I took from this larger discussion and some of the things that popped out of it. It's a ton of amazing things, but one of the ones that was specifically that dream journaling aspect that kind of came out of that joke, that CERN joke, that now that CERN's turned off, maybe start journaling your dreams because, signal to noise, maybe you'll recognize them. You'll see them better. They'll come through more clearly or something to that effect. Like I said, no scientific basis there, of course, but I think it's an interesting aspect of looking at the nature of reality and wondering what kind of things from this space, from the seen realm, actually impact the unseen space. And definitely the dream aspect of it is a big part of that. So that's why that one kind of came to me as part of this, looking at the retrospective of where we've been in this past several weeks. But anyway, let me hear your thoughts one more time. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Get on in here and let's talk. Let's chat it up and let's consider weird ideas by dark of night, which is really what we do. Matthew in Colorado, just jump right back on in and go right ahead. And yeah, sorry for the weirdness and the audio, guys. It does happen. It is a live show, and there's really nothing you could do about it if you got a bad connection or something. But Matthew, welcome back. Go right ahead.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now.
Better. I haven't heard a clipping yet. Go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so the dream journaling. The first thing I wanted to say about that is I have found this to be true in my own personal experience. If you write down your dreams, the better you will remember them. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's like, I call it the dream weaver, the part of you that creates the dreams. And the dream weaver seems to know when you pay attention to your dreams and remember your dreams and record your dreams. And so the more you record your dreams, which you were talking about, the dream journaling, the more dreams you'll have and the better you'll recall them. And then you write them down better. And then it's a loop, right? It's a feedback loop. And so the more you remember them, the more you journal them, the more you journal them, the more you remember them, and around it goes. So I highly recommend dream journaling. Myself personally, I have stacks and stacks and notebooks of dream journals over the but it became almost too much. Like I would wake up in the morning and I would spend 2.5 hours writing down my dreams and or more and not get them all down. And so I had to be selective and kind of write down the most important ones and sometimes write them down. But I discovered there's a time when you're going to sleep or when you wake up, but usually when you're going to sleep, and you can do this intentionally and consciously, and you can cross into, it's the theta brainwave frequency. And when you get into the theta, you can remember dreams. And you can remember dreams from a year ago, 5 years ago, and they'll play back in your head and you'll remember them. So even though you may not dream journal them, they're still available to you to pull up from your subconscious, as it were. They're filed away. They're stored there. And so just know that, even if you don't write down your dreams, they're available for your recall and for your review. And there's some really good stuff that Alan Watts. Are you familiar with Alan Watts?
Just very partially, like from after we've talked about him before, you and I, and he's come up on a couple different shows, but I'm not deeply familiar. I do know the name and I do know some of the things he's into, but that's basically it, a very cursory bit. Right. And I'm not, I'm on a group of, Facebook groups that's developed, that's a big fan group of Alan Watts. And I'm not and they treat him kind of like a guru and like he's all that.
and a bag of chips, right? I'm not one of those, but he had some really good stuff. And so I go with what's called the synoptic philosophy, where you collect from various philosophers and different people the best of what they have to offer, and you disregard the rest, right? And you use that to come up with your own, thought system, belief system, whatever you want to call it, right? So Alan Watts is a contributor, like Carl Jung, contributed a lot to dreaming, and was commensurate, with uh, the other psychologist. I can't believe I'm having a brain fart on him, the leading psychologist. But
which one, Jung or Freud or?
Freud. Okay, so Freud and Jung were contemporaries and knew each other. Okay, and Freud was your little bit more, let's say, mentally based, and Carl Jung brought in more of the spiritual type and esoteric type thinking. And between the two, it's a nice hybrid, you might say, the Freudian and the Jungian psychology, and both are, Freud was considered the father of psychology, but Carl Jung certainly in there. I don't particularly appreciate, or I don't value, let's say, Carl Jung's dream interpretation by symbolic, global, universal symbology. What I think is that your mind pricks its own symbology based on your own internal definitions and or objects and things. So it's not so. Carl Jung went with, like, you can come up with a global encyclopedia or a common knowledge base of dream interpretation symbols, and have a symbolic dream, look up what an eagle represents or what a house represents, or etc., and decode it that way. I don't really, some of that I think is true, but I don't think it's as extreme as he thought it was. I think it's more personal. I think that your brain and your psychology uses the symbols that it knows and its meaning for them. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, 100%. And I agree too. I think it is quite a bit more personal. Though, look, even if you think we do sort of share a dream space in any capacity, we've talked about that tandem dreaming in the past, or, kind of maybe encroaching in other people's dreams, either by accident or intentionally, sort of that dream walking stuff. But I think for sure, no matter where you stand on that, or where you think sort of the dream space is completely internal and you can't encroach on it at all, I do think that the symbolic aspect you're describing is, I agree with. I don't think it's as rigid as you see an eagle and it means exactly this, which is why, and we've talked about this in the past. I've pulled up a list of these and been like, well, what is a walrus in your dreaming? Sort of just kind of making a joke out of it. That, like, clearly it doesn't mean, it just can't mean the same thing for everybody. There might be these archetypal symbols that happen. If you see an eagle, it might be hugely or highly associated with America, right? Or maybe the idea of the philosophical idea of freedom, because this has been sort of burned into our brains. So something like an eagle is probably a little more easy to kind of make that case. But what about a walrus? I am the walrus. Now, what does it mean? But I agree with you. Go ahead.
It means the Beatles. Cuckoo.
Yes, it does. I was waiting for the cuckoo. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So no, I think you're exactly right. We're on the same page there. I think that there are archetypes, and Jung was a big one for archetypes, and they are definitely a thing. And I think there's a lot of value in archetypes and learning, and this is, of course, beyond dreaming, but understanding our archetypes in general. It's like I can't. I got a block on his name, but the hero's journey. What's the author's name? Do you know?
Joseph Campbell. Yep, Campbell.
Joseph Campbell, right. Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. And, that's an archetype. And, that's, that's true. That's been around for thousands of years, and you can't get, can't get around it. It's there. It's in our psyche. And so I think there's a lot of value in it. Real quick before I forget, I do have some additional thoughts, just free flowing, but 60 seconds. In terms of format and series and multi-part, I took your advice because I was behind because I just got back online, and I went back and listened to like the last 5 shows and got caught up, and that was helpful because it was kind of a series. I have noted that for the TV series, and when you get into binge watching, some of them like Stranger Things and those sorts of series, there's an interesting thing that happens. That you have the advantage of character development and plot development that doesn't happen. You don't have enough time in a regular hour-and-a-half movie, and so that's very powerful. And it's also like why I appreciate your show and the long format discussion in general is better than a 10-minute podcast on where you barely get into it. You don't have time to fully explore it. So the long format where you're talking about something for 2 hours is much better, for me, and I think for most people it adds a lot, than, a 10 or 15 deal. Now, extending that to like Stranger Things or what's the one I can't think of with the the kind of Middle Earth, not Middle Earth, but the series that took over everything in antiquity with the dwarf guy and oh, come on.
Yeah, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. You're right.
No. Modern times, last 5 years.
Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones? There we go.
Game of Thrones, right. Okay, so the Game of Thrones. And so you got the Game of Thrones, and you have this character development and this plot development, and it goes on for, 5 years worth of episodes. And it's so much deeper and better. And that's what a series does for you. And like James said, probably I would say 3 to 6. I probably wouldn't go on, beyond 6, but somewhere between 6. I think there's a lot of value. There's a lot of potential. It takes the long format and takes it longer into that series thing. And like you said, for you personally, it helps out with having a common thread that you kind of know where you're going with the next episodes. So that's my feedback on that. Yeah, 3 to 6. I like it a lot.
Okay, I appreciate that. Like I said, and it's hard because you kind of can't see what's coming. So it was a special privilege to be able to kind of see all these pieces really kind of taking place weeks out, to be able to kind of go, wow, there's something here, and there's a larger arc to it. And so what does it mean though? And I'll throw this question out to everybody else too. What does it mean when you can see obvious synchronicities stacking like this? And then the more you dig, the more they sort of culminate and grow on top of each other, and one leads to another. And, it's not just a rabbit hole, it becomes a rabbit black hole. Like what does that mean? We've talked about these synchronicity storms in the past, but what do you think is going on when it's sort of a societal synchronicity? Do you think there's something greater to it, or are there just more data streams that we're kind of picking up on, or what's the actual aspect of that now that you've listened to the last several episodes?
I think it is more societal. I think that people have experienced that individually to various degrees in the past. I think it's becoming more common. I think that it's more societal. I think it's affecting more people. I think it's being more recognized. But I don't know, Michael. I'm a hermit. I live in the mountains. I don't get out too much. People say, Matt, you can't control him. You can only help to contain him. So, but and personally, I've had so much of that going on the last 6 weeks. It's really, I'm not the right guy to ask the question because my, inner world and growth and dreaming has been so off the hook, crazy cool, that I don't know if it's me personally or if it's other people collective. And, but the few and close friends I have all seem to be indicating and sharing with me they're having very similar experience. If that makes any sense.
Okay, so something real seems to be in play here, and I think this is normal stuff. This is the Great Wheel stuff. This is the summer solstice. This is the 4th of July. This is World UFO Day. This is all the things we've been talking about over the past several weeks. And so the convergence effect it's kind of stacked, right? It's kind of stacked in the favor of this, but then all the rest of it that kind of came in the periphery of it, the World Cup, it only happens every 4 years. The Disclosure Day movie by Spielberg, the actual disclosure happening, quote, disclosure from the government, disclosure of what? And then the trickster element as part of it when, again, the current administration released that whole, aliens.gov, and it wasn't a UFO site at all. It was about immigration. So, it was a massive troll. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So like all these things really stack into this larger trickster element space of disclosure itself, which to me says, strap in because disclosure isn't anywhere close and they're going to continue to kick this can down the road forever. Got about 2.5 minutes left. What else you got?
Yeah. Well, in terms of the disclosure, just some quick comments on that. And I align myself with the view that it's a slow process. It's a trickle. People think that disclosure means, oh, it's going to be this year. Oh, it's going to be this summer. Oh, it's going to be within a month. And it's like, no. That's how disclosure works. They have to deal with and account for the fact that they've been lying to everybody for 7 years. They got to factor that in, and they got to go, okay, how are going people in society react to? We have no control over our airspace. We're completely vulnerable. We have been known about this. We've studied it. We had programs. We didn't tell you about the programs. We lied to you and said we don't have any programs. We've been lying to you for decades. Yeah, it's all real. We know it's real. Sorry, our bad. That takes time. That's not something they can do in a month, 3 months, or a year. That's a multi-year process. I think people need to wrap their mind around disclosure is a process. It's not a short-term event. It's like it's happening. It's been happening. Disclosure has been happening. It continues to happen. I think it's increasing.
Hey, right? just real quick on that, just as a rebuttal. Put me in the government, give me access to those files, hold my beer, and give me a team of 3 people. Yeah. I will have that on the internet before you can say WTF just happened, Mike. And then I'll be kicking back, sipping my beer at the pool as the world catches fire. It wouldn't take me years, man, is my point.
There's some people doing that. And, they're getting press and good for them. They're brave and honorable men and women. So, that's my take on disclosure. It's a process. Been happening. It is happening. I think it's increasing. I think it will increase. But I think people mistakenly think, oh, this is a summer of disclosure. And then the next year, oh, this is the summer of disclosure.
And then the next year, and then the next year, and then the next year. Sorry to cut you off. We're just about out of time. Appreciate you very much, brother. Thanks for popping back in here. Thanks for fixing the phone. The issues are a little weird sometimes. Thanks for being you. Welcome back. Glad to have you. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Love you, buddy. You're the best.
You're the best. Matthew in Colorado, give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It's in alphabetical order, and you can find it right there. Matt's books on the top right. Go click that. Go buy some books from the man. We're talking not just disclosure tonight. I'm calling this the Recessional. Tricksters in ordinary time. Are we back? Are we so back? Or is there a long way to go? 702-857-6939. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. We'll be right back. More on the way. Do not go anywhere.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. A new study published in the journal Intelligence suggests that humans don't reach their psychological peak until late midlife, contradicting the long-held assumption that our best years are behind us by 30. Researchers from the University of Western Australia and the University of Warsaw found that while raw processing speed does decline in early adulthood, traits like crystallized intelligence, emotional stability, and moral reasoning continue to develop well into a person's 50s and 60s. The findings may help explain why people so often reach the height of their careers and leadership influence precisely when their fast-twitch cognitive abilities are already fading. Turning now to a debate that has quietly divided brain science and physics for nearly 4 decades, Oxford mathematical physicist Roger Penrose continues to maintain that consciousness cannot be produced by any computational process, no matter how sophisticated. His theory, developed alongside anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff and known as orchestrated objective reduction, proposes that conscious awareness arises from gravity-linked quantum collapses occurring inside microscopic structures found within neurons. Most brain scientists remain unconvinced, arguing that the brain's warm, wet environment would cause any quantum superposition to collapse far too quickly to play a meaningful role in thought, but Penrose holds that this simply means the physics involved remains undiscovered. And in a finding that raises quiet but serious questions about culture and collective imagination, a study out of Rice University and Colby College reveals that more than 90% of short fiction published in The New Yorker over the past decade makes no meaningful reference to climate change or environmental crisis. Researchers analyzed 474 original stories published between 2014 and 2023, using a custom measurement tool for tracking environmental themes in narrative fiction. Lead author Matthew Schneider-Mayerson warns that fiction plays a powerful role in shaping what people consider urgent or even imaginable, and its near silence on the climate may be making catastrophic futures easier to ignore. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Really? That's what we've got? Not enough fiction has climate change written into it? Come on. I'm telling you, if I'm writing a fiction piece, it's not going to have climate change in it unless it's a tidal wave taller than the Empire State Building. That's when it's going to be in there. It's just weird. I wanted to point out that how bizarre that article was. Anyway, what do you guys know about this? Thanks again for hanging out. What's up? Thank you again, James. Thank you, Matthew in Colorado for the call. What's up, Eric? Joe in Florida, Dragon Rose. What's up, Roving Fungus? APOC, Matsal, Herschel, Daryl, Satya, Joey Don't Panic, and the Robert. We got Fred is back. Welcome back. What's up, Herschel? How you doing? Good evening. Jen, I see you there. Great work over there with Ricky and James on the show there. I had you guys on while I was setting up the show tonight. What's up, Ioxy? Good evening. Hello, Dragon Rose. What's up, Joey? Says, what are we talking about tonight? Just kind of a retrospective of the summer and sort of the ritual magic aspect and sort of the synchronicity stacking and disclosure. And where do you think we're at? And of course, this idea of the Tricksters in ordinary time. That's sort of the quick breakdown. Ioxy, what's up, Joey? I see you. Good evening. I hope everybody's well tonight. Matt Sal, I see you there. If I missed anybody, just say hi and I'll say hi back. Like I said, just trying to get everybody in. It's hard to do that. It's like I said. And hey, get me a break too, by the way. I know many of you do, but it's really hard to do all of the things I'm doing to kind of make a really quality product at the end here. You know, this edits down very nicely. It's a very nice thing when it's done, but it's hard to do in real time like this. So, hey, yeah, give me a break sometimes. What's up, Salty Squiggly? Hello is not available. Cubs Future, Puff, what's going on? Ricky, I see you guys. Great work over there again. If you guys don't know, you should. Ricky's over there doing great work with James on Sunday nights, in addition to all the amazing stuff Ricky does with Anything Is Possible, the podcast. But they talk paranormal stuff sort of the 2 hours before the show, before Troubled Minds, and kind of lead into this space. And then they raid on over here on Rumble. And yeah, it's like 4 hours of back-to-back weird. So, and 4 hours with James. Yeah. Hey, hard to beat that. Okay, here we go. Trouble Lines coming up. Nobody on the line if you guys want to jump in here. I don't know, just feedback on the show, on the sort of the longer running narratives, or tricksters and ordinary time, or synchronicity stacking, or what did you take from any of that? And do you think it's over, or do you think it's never over? Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird, but not just normal weird, weird. Tricksters. And what about ordinary time when the trickster recedes? That's why I'm calling this the Recessional tonight. After all of the obvious stacking synchronicities of the summer solstice, the UFO World UFO Day, the 250th 4th of July, and not just that, all the weird shenanigans that have happened in the disclosure space. I don't know. There's a lot in play here. And do you think, what do you think about it? That becomes the actual space of this. And just kind of a way to slow down a little bit, pull some narratives out of it, and just talk to each other and kind of give a space here to pop in and not just show feedback for these larger narratives. Can I say both at the same time? What's one word that's longer and larger together? Anyway, it'll come to me. I was looking for something really specific there that just doesn't exist in the English language. Anyway, welcome back. James, anything to add? And nobody on the line if you guys want to jump in here. One more time, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for being patient, my man. Anything to add to what Matzal said? Not Matzal. Sorry about that. Matthew in Colorado. Or any ideas you got you want to kind of chip into the larger conversation?
Great call from Matt, Matthew in Colorado. I almost said Matt and Co because that's his screen name now. For some reason that sticks easier in my mind than saying it all out. But yeah, great call. And I do think that dreaming is part of all this. I think it's odd how so many people lately have been saying that. We were talking about that in the show tonight. We did just before this with Jen and Ricky about how we've heard people talk about how they're having weird dreams too, and more often just remembering their dreams in general. So there does seem to be something going on with all this. I don't know what's causing it for sure. I mean, CERN, maybe not. I don't know. But also, I did want to mention comment on something you said earlier. I'm all for you taking any breaks from the show that you need to. I know that's maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'm all for that as needed. And I think I said it before. You already know that, but just want to put it out there as well.
I appreciate it. It's a rough one because I like to be here to do this, but it does burn me out. It's one of those things that, come home after work and then do this every day. And then the hour afterward that all the edits and stuff. And I'm not crying. Mike's not being a little, but it does wear you out super fast. So I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate that. All that aside, there's a lot in play. And I think that's why it's important to look at what's happening in the world around us. And look, notice for 6 weeks, we didn't even touch AI really at all. It kind of came in once in a while as sort of a sidelight to the conversation for just a second, like a tenth of a segment or something like that, as just part of a way to put pieces together to a puzzle, to a larger idea. But we haven't talked about it at all. And the weird thing is that in the past 6 weeks, it's turned a corner. We've got this Claude Fable, which supposedly has cracked everything, has cracked coding, has cracked whatever. And it's super expensive, but I did use it. And it's impressive. It's incredibly impressive for all the weird vibe coding foibles that happened over the past year and a half. This has basically solved it all. Like as they've been saying recently, software is solved, and it's going to be sort of software as a service in terms of you just kind of create your own custom thing if you want. It's that crazy. But anyway, not to devolve into that space, but it's impressive. It's very impressive where it's come in the last couple years. And you've been following the Discord, the vibe coding discussion. It changed so much. And just as a reminder that there's so many other things accelerating and going on in the world that we didn't even touch, that we haven't even looked at. I'm still paying attention to those spaces, but it's important because it is one of those things that when it turns and changes, the world will no longer be the same. And maybe we've already crossed that threshold. So I don't know. Anything else, James, to add? And if not, I got more to ramble on about. I'll actually read some of the write-up because it's very good as part of this, and maybe jog some people to call. Again, taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the discussion, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Real quick, the Discord is right there. So go to troubledminds.org. Very top, there's a blue button. Click that. It'll give you an invite to our Discord, and that's it. Anything to add, James? If not, I'm going to go straight to the write-up.
Yeah, just, it's amazing, too. We were talking earlier about how there's so much and you can only fit so much in any given show. I think that really is the case. I mean, I think it's impossible to fit everything that we'd want to in even a series of shows, because there's just always so much, and things are always changing. And so it's, I do think this series was amazing. And I do think that series going forward will also be a good idea. But I think this might be, the big one possibly for a while, it seems. And it's been amazing to listen in and sit in and be part of it the whole time. So, but I think that's all I have for now.
Right on. Appreciate that. And yeah, maybe, like I said, it's rare that we see things coming from so far away for so long. And that happened certainly this summer. Okay, so I'm going to read this, and I got you. I see there, Bobby. Put your hand up. We'll get to you in a second. Okay, so a Recessional, and this is straight from the write-up. Read it in full if you're interested. It is very good, and it is sort of the end, the cycle, the full cycle of this larger conversation, kind of winding down into a Trickster space, but. Ordinary time, so probably better to hear it this way. So a Recessional is the plainest ceremony in any liturgy, and also the one nobody remembers afterward. It's the procession that carries the sacred objects back out of the room once the service ends, in order, without commentary, while the congregation simply stands and watches something leave. No sermon happens during a Recessional, nothing gets explained, the candles and the cross and the vestments just walk back out the way they came in, and then the room is ordinary again. That's the actual shape of a proper close. Of course, they have music they play sometimes as well. And it's worth naming plainly before anything else as part of this narrative here, because 9 weeks of pattern finding deserves an ending that matches the form it was built in, rather than one more escalation trying to outdo the last 8, which is the whole point tonight, to kind of break it down and not try and add, some cherry on the top of the conversation, or, cement the Trickster or any other synchronicities. I think we did a good job on that. But in this particular case, this continues. So the anthropologist Victor Turner spent much of his career studying exactly this kind of bounded period. What he and others called licensed misrule, stretches of calendar time where ordinary social rules are deliberately suspended and then just as deliberately restored. And in particular, Saturnalia in ancient Rome, and we've talked about this a lot, ran on this structure. Masters and slaves trading places for a set number of days every December, gambling permitted in the streets, the entire social order inverted on a fixed schedule, and then without exception restored the moment the calendar said the holiday was over, which is the whole explanation tonight. Carnival in New Orleans runs the same shape today. Weeks of sanctioned excess collapsing into a single Tuesday, followed immediately by Ash Wednesday, when the same crowds that filled the streets the night before show up with actual ash marked on their foreheads, a physical, visible proof that the inversion happened and is now formally over. And it's weird. And so, again, not to pick on, I'm not trying to pick on any religious faith here. You know me, I'm just looking at this and trying to make sense of data that we get that's flowing through the zeitgeist constantly and continually, and how much of it becomes ephemeral, how much of this is something that will pass through us, and this Trickster summer is something we'll never get back. I don't know. I think we've cataloged it pretty well, so which is why we should talk to each other, why we should write things down, including dreams or dream journals, because you never know. This ephemeral information that kind of comes and goes, is not something that is easily returned sometimes. And that's the point. That's why I want to talk about it in this particular sense. But anyway, every one of these traditions shares a structure worth borrowing directly. That's part of this tonight, which is why I'm calling it the Recessional, Tricksters, and Ordinary Time. But so the license period ends on schedule, not because anyone gets tired of it, but because the ending was always built into the design. The world resumes its normal order, and something small and concrete gets left behind as the only remaining evidence that any of it was real. And that's what I'm talking about, that concrete evidence. And in this case, like I said, one thing I'm going to try and take into the future as part of these discussions was that dream journal. For some reason, I'm remembering my dreams quite a bit more these days, and it just happened in the past 6 or 8 weeks. So I had another doozy last night, like I said. So maybe this is something that I needed for myself to maybe turn a corner and, I don't know, maybe discover some things that I never thought I could discover or would. But I don't know. As usual, look, I don't know the answers. I just have more questions when it comes to these ideas. And that's the point. And the whole point of this is just to talk to each other and consider what is and what isn't. And if this is all a big no, Mike, no, absolutely not, that's fine too. That's fine too. You try and be right every single 3 times a week for 2 hours at a time. It's hard. It's hard. Don't even care. Not even trying to be right. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Simple as this. Thanks for being patient. What's your first name? Where are you calling from on the phone line? You're on Troubled Minds. Welcome. Test 1, 2. Phone line. You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there? We got somebody on the line. We got a fish. We got one. We got one. Are you there? Test 1, 2. Can you hear me? I think everything works on this end. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Anyway, I'll keep talking, and if you break through, so unmute or whatever, then just interrupt me and continue. Jump on in here. Start with your name and where you're calling from, though, just so I know who I'm talking to, please. But okay, yeah. So you get the idea. Like, there's a lot in play, and I do wonder how much of this is not done, may continue into sort of the late summer, and the World Cup is still ongoing. What if America wins that one? Like, wouldn't that be sort of a very synchronistic thing in the 250th America celebration that maybe the U.S. Team USA wins the World Cup, right? So, I mean, look, I don't know. And that becomes the problem. What's up, shout out hologram over there on X. I see you. Look, I don't know. And that's why I think maybe we can't close the door on this just yet. But I do think that, kind of beating a dead horse at some point is let it go and kind of turn towards something else. Phone line, you are on Troubled Minds. Go ahead. If not, it's possible it hung up because sometimes they hang up and it doesn't hang up. If not, call back and we'll put you on the show. Simple as that. But yeah, I don't know. And so that becomes really the problem here. Not the problem. Let's say the good problem to have when it comes to too many ideas is because we can talk to each other about them and consider what we know and what we don't know and how much of this might matter, how much of it might not. And clearly that's going to be a personal thing. It's going to be subjective as hell. But also, what if some of it isn't? And that's where the troubled mind aspect comes into this, is that how much of this is really something that's been worked on for quite a while, that MK Ultra for the masses type stuff that we always talk about. And how much of it is more meaningful than that, maybe more cosmic. That I don't know. I'm going to hang up on your phone line because I don't know what's going on. Call back. Sorry about that. It's possible it is my technology, but it's been working fine recently. So if anybody wants to jump in here, phone line is good. Anything to add, James? If not, I'm going to play a quick break again to catch my breath. And hopefully somebody else will call.
I do have something, but it may take a little while. So if we do want to go for the break, that's fine.
Go ahead. Actually, if you got a couple minutes to gobble up, that's better than a break to me. Thank you for that. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no problem. I'm thinking all those things you're talking about, these sort of these predetermined cycles or periods of time where people do a thing and then it stops. I'm thinking even after it stops, after they stop doing this one thing, there's still something that there's really could be almost two things that are left behind. There's the residual energy of those people in the area where they're going through whatever cultural or religious practice they're going through. And there's also the memories of those events. And I'm imagining, it's probably something that people look forward to every year in a certain way, or look forward to and however often that these things are done. And it just makes me wonder. It makes me think about how all this has been happening. And I mean, with all these shows, I don't think, I'm sure there's a lot of us here that are not going to forget every little thing about all these shows that have come in this series. And I think it's probably the same way with a lot of just reality in general. There's always going to be traces of things that we're always going to have with us from before. Not everything, not every little detail, but just traces. And again, it makes me think of places where ceremonies happen, where events happen. So often you hear about them in like paranormal lore, as far as being haunted places or places that are even sacred, or having these weird energies in them, and people having odd experiences there because of these certain events that happen on a regular schedule. But then the rest of the time, there's not people there all the time.
Yeah, well said. And that becomes as you're locked into this exactly, because I don't know. I mean, certainly this trickster element will continue. It's not going anywhere. This is ancient. This is something primordial, and it is something that's been with us pretty much as long as humans have been around. We've been telling stories about these exact things, but kind of stapling them down is the most difficult part, because you just can't. These cycles come and go. So there are longer cycles, there are shorter cycles, there are all the rest of these things like we've been talking about tonight. And then so sort of pinning it down to an exit, or a recessional, as I'm calling this, is, it's a little bit premature, I think. And because who knows, maybe let's say this is the end of a trickster cycle. It may be recognized by mere mortals for maybe the first time in modern times. Let's flatter ourselves for a moment, and then just say that maybe another trickster cycle starts tomorrow, right? like that's the thing, like that we don't notice, and that becomes, well, why we talk about these things, because it is there's a lot of things in motion, as I like to say.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, going back to Matthew in Colorado's call when he was talking about disclosure, I hope he's right about that. I'm not that I'm skeptical of him, but I'm skeptical of the whole event, because I could just imagine, again, it just going on forever, just like it has for a while now, to one degree or another. And like I said, that's not what I want. I'd rather see it eventually get somewhere. But I don't know. I guess call me cynical at this point, because I definitely am in a lot of things.
Yeah, and that's okay too. I mean, as long as you got friends here to kind of pull you out of it sometimes when you get a little too deeply cynical, like it happens to me. And especially when it comes to this idea of, are we alone in the universe? That largest question that's philosophically that really hasn't been, adequately answered for the masses. And funny enough, maybe the entire trickster element is that it never can be. Maybe it's an impossibility to answer it for everybody. And some people are convinced now that disclosure itself has happened. And some people have said to me, Mike, disclosure happened when they released, those seasons of X-Files. There was sort of a predictive programming aspect of kind of letting people know what we know in Hollywood, in a television show. And, and they're convinced that's the case. And I can see where you could make that case. Do I think it's disclosure itself personally? No. But also, I don't think you can convince everybody, even, and this is the funniest part, like speaking of tricksters and inversion, James and I, we've talked about this a lot. Even if, so we're the conspiracy theorists, we're the filthy conspiracy theorists, right? By label. But if a UFO landed on the White House lawn tonight, we'd be the ones going, nope, faked. Let me see those videos. Let me see what that looks like, right? And so, yeah, it's weird. The inversion effect of sort of belief in wanting a thing and then getting the thing and then being like, no way, that just happened. Even if it's, maybe exactly what you wanted. So I don't know. It's an interesting place to be in when you kind of think about these ideas conceptually, and also you can root for them. You can be cynical about them, and you could change your mind tomorrow, which is entirely the point of all this. Why I put myself out here to ramble on into the night. And look, I said some of the dumbest things a human has ever said on this show. I promise you. You can probably go back and find them. And there's some facepalm moments where I'm like, damn, Mike, you were just lighting the turd on fire tonight. But I've also said some very, very smart things as part of these discussions that just kind of came out of me, manifested in a moment. So, like, you take the good with the bad, and that's the facts of life. There you go. There's another TV reference for you. But I mean, isn't it funny, right? Like, if the White House lawn effect happened, you and me would be part of the ones going, nope, totally not real.
Well, and then what's even more hilarious is, I come at everything from a different angle, of course, which is that I do believe that, aliens, whatever they are real. I've had experiences I can't explain. And yet like you just said, we both be like, no, that's that. Nowadays there's so many easy ways to fake almost anything. So it's funny how, you said before you're not really much, you're not an experiencer. I've said before I am an experiencer, but we both agree on that one thing, that if the White House lawn landing happened, we'd be just like, no, that can't, that's someone's making that up for some narrative.
Being faked by the government. I'd be like, come on, guys. Project Blue Beam is ridiculous. But I'd be like, Blue Beam. I'd be like, Project Blue Beam. That's totally it. But I mean, that's the point, right? That's the point. So, and that's an old conceptual idea that if they were able to manifest that through technology to fool a bunch of people, that was the initial idea of what Project Blue Beam was. So I don't know, as I can continue to say as part of this Trickster series, and then just in general, when we talk about these ideas, believe nothing that you hear and only half of what you see, because that's the world we live in now with hyper reality encroaching AI and all this stuff, right? It used to be, oh, that might be photoshopped. Now it's like, oh, that might be a completely fantastic, convincing looking AI video. And you guys have seen them. They're out there. It's pretty jarring sometimes, to be perfectly honest. And so give it 5 more years, and I don't know what the world's going to look like. And I don't think anybody else does either at this point. It's just I don't know. Let's strap in, I guess, as I always like to say.
Well, and now we have robotics. We have, those are a lot easier to make now than they ever used to be. So again, going back to that landing on the White House lawn. Oh, well, no, we're not going to use there's no Blue Beam here. We'll just make a craft, make robots. Boom, done. There's your footage. And it's not AI, and it's not holograms, but it's also not aliens.
Yeah, exactly. What's up? Nostradamus says Troubled Minds Radio will be the Snopes of alien invasions. God, let's hope not. Let's definitely hope not. You guys know what I think about Snopes. I've said over the years. But I mean, meaning that a singular fact check entity is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because, of course, everything is not black and white sometimes. Sometimes there are narratives. Sometimes there are interpretations. Sometimes that's exactly why we should kind of tell each other where, maybe not give all our cards out, because it's, you become super boring. But, like, oh, Mike's got a pair of aces in his hand, but what if I don't? What if I, there's a little mystery involved there. But you get the idea. We're in this space where what we know and what we believe are obviously very different in terms of what's coming next. But then also we're led to believe a bunch of these wild things. And I'm telling you, I'm watching X, and I'm watching some of the discourse that comes out of it. I mean, what did Eric Davis say tonight? Like, he just released an interview, and it's just hitting right now. But, he's saying he seems to go further and further every time he gets on a podcast or on a microphone anywhere doing anything. And he's just basically laying it out that he saw pictures. Legitimately, he'll swear on his kids' lives type of thing that he saw pictures of non-human entities in a crash retrieval process. So I don't know what to believe about that. Not to say he's a liar, but could he have been fooled as part of it? I think absolutely, you bet your ass he could. And that's why it's important to talk about these things, and not about who you trust so much, but how much of the information kind of leads or points to one particular thing or another. I don't know. It's weird, man. It's weird. And, welcome to Troubled Minds, I guess.
Yeah. And it is weird, especially when you're someone who, again, has had anomalous experiences, and yet you're looking at everything that's going on in social media and all that. And it's just, it seems fairly obvious there's deception involved. Not even necessarily with the person making the post automatically, but who knows what, as we see all the time, who knows where people are getting the information from? These people that come out. I mean, they may believe and they may be honest about whatever they're saying. But if there's any kind of agenda from anyone that they got information from, then how do we know and how do we trust it?
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. And what do you believe about it now? Because, Matthew in Colorado made a good point that these things take time. But I mean, we've had 75 freaking years, haven't we? Of supposed alien contact, if you believe the Roswell narrative. And we're still kind of trickling out things that aren't groundbreaking, mind-blowing at this point. I don't know. Like I said, give me 3 volunteers, 3 Troubled Minds volunteers. Give us access to the UFO archives in their entirety. I promise you, I'll have disclosure done in 1 week. How about that? I am running for president in 2028. No, I'm just kidding. I would never subject myself to that. But you get the idea. Sometimes things are not as complicated as we make them. Love to hear your thoughts on this. We're just kind of hanging out, talking wide, free-range Troubled Minds. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. More from James and your calls when we come back. Nobody on the line. Jump on in here, and I'd love to hear what you think. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. New research is reframing what we think we know about sleep. Scientists at a chemistry research institute in China argue that sleep isn't simply the brain recharging overnight. It's a carefully timed window for neural reorganization, allowing the brain to absorb stress, adapt to change, and continue learning across a lifetime. The study draws a sharp distinction between stability, robustness, and resilience, suggesting sleep's most critical function is protecting that last quality across a network of roughly 86 billion neurons. The 2 primary stages, deep sleep and dream sleep, appear to divide this work between them, with deep slow-wave sleep clearing metabolic waste and recalibrating overloaded connections, while dream sleep loosens patterns that have grown too rigid. Turning to the outer edges of our solar system, researchers at the Southwest Research Institute have published new predictions for when the New Horizons spacecraft will cross the heliosphere's termination shock, the outermost plasma boundary separating our solar system from interstellar space. By combining solar wind forecasting with heliospheric models, the team estimates that encounter could happen as early as 2029 or as late as 2040. Adding an unusual wrinkle, the probe may actually cross that boundary more than once, as the heliosphere itself continues to expand and contract with solar activity. And in a quieter corner of science, researchers at Northwestern University have identified what appears to be a hidden internal clock inside the human smell processing center of the brain, one that activates with a single sniff and synchronizes the brain's processing of smell. Using a slim electrode threaded directly to the nasal cavity, the team recorded distinct rhythmic brainwave patterns firing in response to odors, patterns strikingly similar to those seen in rodents despite the vast differences in how humans and animals actually sniff. The discovery may finally resolve a long-standing puzzle about how humans smell as quickly and accurately as they do on just one slow, deliberate breath. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope you're well. Misanthropic American, I see you there. Let's do this. Indeed. What's up, Matsao, Fred, Sacha, I see you. Ioxy says, I'm a skeptic because humans have wild imaginations, limited senses, and lie all the time. Very well said. That should be a t-shirt. Absolutely. Linda, Dragon Rose, Matsao, I see you guys. Hope everybody's well tonight. What's up? Dan says, come on, England, let's go. Let's go, sports ball. Hell yeah. I don't know anything about soccer. I think, okay, but the soccer fans out there that have been watching, was that France game not rigged? Like, they were whooping the asses of, I can't remember the other team, Paraguay, I believe. They were beating their asses, like dropping them to the field, like tackling them, kicking them, punching them all game long, never get called for any of it. And then suddenly, like the French team, they trip the one guy and they get a penalty shot and, 1-0 win. I'm like, come on, that looked rigged as hell. Sorry, I just an outside observer that maybe doesn't understand the rules, but I'm just saying. Anyway, who did I miss? What's up? Gordo is here. How you doing? We got the puff sighting. Some of the keywords being espoused over there. Let me know what we're missing. We'll drop them before we finish. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me. That's why I don't play soccer. One, I'm too old. Two, I don't understand the rules at all. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Let's go. Let's go. Love to hear your thoughts. Free range Troubled Minds. Let's do it. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls. Like I'm calling this the Recessional. Tricksters and Ordinary Time. Now, Ordinary Time means it gets back to the place where we started, where there was no Synchronicity Storm, where there was no Trickster event, where there was none of this stuff in play. But do you really believe that? And what happens when you look at the larger context of all the data points, as I always talk about, the trillion data points, and how everything can be a narrative? And it's important. It's important to recognize this, not just for the past, the historical aspect of where we came from, but of course, the moment where everything is made a narrative. I mean, in the old days, the news was who, what, when, where, and I would decide the why. But now every stupid news article leads with why and then gives you a who and maybe a what. And that's it. And so it's completely inverted. And I think surely the trickster element has infiltrated the mass media. There's no doubt about that. And I don't think it's going anywhere fast, but that becomes the problem. And I think that's why it's important to look at these ideas and consider what the hell we know and what the hell we don't know. We got Kelly on the line in just a second. James, anything to add to any of that I just said? Thanks for being patient and cool and chill, as always.
No, looking forward to Kelly's call.
You are the man, the glue of the show. Thank you again for chiming in here and keeping me from rambling for 2 hours straight. I'll go insane. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
What's up there, fellas? How you guys doing?
Just chilling. Glad to know the phone line works. It seemed to be broken earlier. We hear you loud and clear. I hope you're well. Happy 4th. Happy 250th. All the rest of it. What do you know about the Tricksters and stuff? Welcome, my man.
Well, I just wanted to first say before I called, I was just listening on YouTube and kind of breaking up. Sound like your mic or something, but I don't know. Could it be just me on my side, from where I'm at? But first, I just want to let you know on that. But
thank you.
I'm really not getting. I was just kind of calling in to say how you guys been up to, but I mean, I really haven't been listening too long, but I kind of got a little gist of what the show is about. I mean, can you give me a little something?
Yeah, I got you. I appreciate the help. So just basically the Trickster element is happening in a cycle that we've seen. The summer disclosure cycle, the Trickster element of aliens.gov, and the rest of that, right? But then does it sort of peter out? Because we have the World Cup still happening, the 250th 4th of July yesterday. There's a very ritual element type stuff happening. Not World UFO Day just happened, the summer solstice kind of coming out of that. So once we've passed the threshold of a bunch of these sort of synchronistic moments in a time space, is it possible that this just kind of peters out and goes away? And that's what's called ordinary time, outside the space of a ritual, a larger mass ritual. That's really what we're talking about tonight. And the idea of the trickster that kind of doesn't tell you when he's going to come and go anyway. And just the larger idea. I mean, that's what we're talking about tonight, but not just that. America 250, we're talking the sports ball stuff. We're talking synchronicities. What do they mean? Do you believe in them? Basically, you can kind of piecemeal and take it wherever you like. That's it. That's the point tonight, is kind of not to really chase a narrative or follow anything. Just kind of talk about things in the periphery and catch up a little bit. So you're definitely in the right space by asking how you guys doing. So I'll say, how you doing?
Good, man. We had a right 4th of July. We didn't head up to Wyoming and get the big ones, but we had this. Michelle and I just want to have a little something here at the house. So, but all the big ones are all around us anyway. Everybody was going off. I don't know where about you guys, but yeah, we sat outside for a while, just watching everybody else's fireworks for a while, which was nice.
Hell yeah!
So back at you with the 4th of July and 250, all that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, yeah, these synchronicities, man. For me, I mean, they're constantly happening. You know, I mean, just like you're saying, for thousands of years, it's all been happening for a while, right? So, you know, all these things that we think that was like, you know, it's kind of separated, but nowadays it seems like, for me, you know, like, I don't know, I don't want to go down too far that tunnel, but I just want to say that there's people around that are trying to push these narratives even, you know, even faster and harder, trying to, I would call upon something, create something or something. But they're pushing these narratives, or, you know, making it look to seem like, especially, you know, if you're religious, then, you know, like the coming of something, you know, the end of the world, all that stuff. You know, you get that, and then you get, like you guys were saying, the mixture of, you know, the UFOs and all that. You know, it's, for me, you know, I just sit back and watch the show. You know, I get involved in some stuff that, you know, I kind of I follow, or I you know more information about. But all in all, man, I just kind of sit back and watch the show, what's going on. But yeah, I mean, throughout time, you know, back to the Trickster thing, you know, they have been, you know, they're going to, you know, they're trying to push society in a certain direction, right? Whatever it is, you know, for their reasons and for their causes. You know, we could be all, you know, we've been talking about that for a while, about like how, you know, are we everybody in, you know, are we like in some big, like, I don't know, rituals, you know, just everybody's just, you know, they got us doing stuff that's crazy. Like, I ran across this video the other day, and they were just talking about, like, in 2010s, everybody was singing, or everybody had a song part of it, and it was like, na, 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 right? And he was like, so when they looked it up, you know, it's an old ancient Sumerian god, right? Inanna. He was trying to put that into the equation with Inanna, which is, you know, she's been named for different, you know, different things throughout the world, throughout time and history throughout the world. But he was trying to make in comparison with that. You know, it's kind of like the same thing that was going on around. Everybody's been, you know, nowadays everybody's through with the internet. You know, it's more easier to keep an eye on what's going on. But these trickster elements, what you're saying is, that's what they have to throw in to throw us off. You know what I mean? Not to, because there are conspiracies going on. You know, I mean, they're not theories. They're, you know, real life conspiracies going on. People just need to, you know, realize it. Not everything that's thrown out there, but you never know, man. Some of the wild stuff that goes on out there, you never even know nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the point here. And I think you're right regarding that trickster element. I think we're supposed to believe a bunch of nonsense, and there's a bunch of nonsense that's certainly out there. However, there are real conspiracies afoot, and they are some of the most insidious stuff. I mean, you know, release the rest of the files. So we got, you know, 50% of them were told, about 3 million files out of 6 million. So what kind of insidious stuff is in the other 3 million files? And I think this is going to be the same thing that we get, that trickster element, the, you know, non-transparent aspect of government, of, you know, these rich people hiding their buddies and their own crimes, and, you know, on and on and on. But I think, like I was telling Matthew earlier, you probably missed his call, but he's like, hey, you know, disclosure takes time. Hey, Kelly, take you, me, and 2 other volunteers, put your hands up. Send us to the federal government, give us the secrets. Wouldn't we have disclosure done in 1 single week? That's my point. I wouldn't wait for anything. I would put all the stuff out there, and hey, if all the stock markets crash, I'm sorry about that, but here's your disclosure. You asked for it.
I mean, even now, like we've been talking with that, like if we had disclosure, right, if we could do it, I mean, we already know where to look, right? Besides the military, you got these other corporations that have been working with the governments, and I'm pretty sure they've got some stuff that I've seen some stuff, and I'm pretty sure they got, we are years behind of what because I call it all a secret program, everything like that, man. When it comes to all that with, involving, 3-letter, departments and stuff, you get that going on, and then they're just abusing the money that, the people, I mean, we know that's been going on for decades, right? So, oh man, for me, I don't know, man, this one's harder because me, I don't know. I do want to believe, I know we're not the only ones out there, right? Going down this part of it, right? So I know we're not, from the stuff that I've seen, even with that, I don't even need to sleep, right? To where people say, they have dreams or whatnot, deep visions or something, I mean, I've seen these things in real life, right? I mean, I know what I saw. So it was the thing for me, it was in 2 different coastlines. So, right. And it was at a time too, when I was even doing my shows, right? I was doing a lot of stuff with a lot of the, I wasn't even doing like Anunnaki stuff. It was just, or even ancient history. It was more of like of everything, a collection of everything, right? So I don't know. Maybe I was touching some bases where I was, some of the shows that I did, what I was talking about. It's, I know I have different opinion and I see it in different ways, but like making connections, I don't know, man. I guess I'm wired like that with my brain. I can just like, everything is just like an open drawer and everything's a file, right? And it just pops out. That's the only way you can explain it. But
yeah, that's okay.
When I was doing stuff like that, but then, oh man. Anyway, let's just get back on. I just want to say that, yeah, that to me, that's, that's been real life, right? Ancient people have been talking about for thousands, I don't even probably say millions of years, that there's been visitors coming here. So, and it's not like it's something, I don't know what people want as disclosure, I mean? Disclosure is constantly happening. It's constantly happening. It's all around you. If people haven't seen something, you know what I mean? I mean, that doesn't mean it's, it isn't there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? As in, like, being like, you see your friends, your families, you know what I mean? Or sometimes even it's been so dramatic they won't even say anything, that they have to live with some of that, and nowadays it's more, I don't know, some people try to over exaggerate and say that, they've seen more than what they did, or don't realize what they've seen. Just like you were saying, the old adage of don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. So, but that's people's perspective, right? So you gotta, but now everybody's got a camera on their phone, and they're doing pretty good with that, with those. But I got cameras I carry with me all the time, like some pretty good cameras too, but because of the things I've seen, right? The places and the areas that I've seen them at. I mean, there's not just been one place, but I don't know. For me, I don't need to have the government tell me. People should already know. I mean, it's not something bourgeois. Everything that we were talking about, but it was crazy that, like, I mean, it's even in the Epstein files. For example, like, with Hillary Clinton, when she was even running the state, right? She was She did it when she was getting interviewed when she came in, and they were talking about the Epstein files. The thing about what was crazy is they even brought up like when she was talked about Gilgamesh, because in the file too, even her name or even in papers, her names was all over that, asking, inquiring about when we, through the Iraqi war, when they supposedly found like Gilgamesh's body. And then they did it when she was being interviewed, when she came in, her and her husband, when lawyers were talking, they brought that up too. Again, just to see what, she really didn't say much about it, but it was more, she didn't even have to say anything about it. I mean, her name was all over of it, you know what I mean? So it's not like, when you see something like that, for me, I'm like, well, why would the government be interested in the body of Gilgamesh if he's supposed to be some fake, you know what I mean? They don't know, right? So,
I could tell you why.
Because I know why. But,
yeah, right, exactly.
Like, so it makes you think. It makes you wonder why would these people want to have, you know what I mean? I thought it would just be, they're acting like they're just blowing it off like all the time. They're not always going to give us everything, and technology wise, we're probably almost 100 years now. It used to be like 50 or 80 years now, but now I say it's even further than that. Half the stuff we're seeing out there is probably ours anyway.
Yeah, a lot of the discourse in the whistleblowers and sort of the disclosure space right now, they're talking about, back to the 30s, and even deeper than that, which clearly means that we're at 100 years of seeing UFOs. And I mean, some of these too, if you go back and look at some of the legacy, stories, and I don't know if any, which of these are real, which of these are not, because they're so far back, it's really difficult to catch the provenance of the story, to trace back to who knows, like the telephone game. But there are some where they were seeing weird things in the sky prior to actual airplanes. So, I mean, there were Zeppelins and things and, actual dirigibles or whatever you want to call them, like balloons in the sky. But clearly they weren't doing weird maneuvers and things that kind of freaked you out. And some of the things too, like you look at the Marfa lights and some of these things that we still see, we can still replicate and go out and watch in the wild, or that other place up near the Arctic Circle in, is it Norway? I can't remember the name of the lights up there, but I mean, there's these places where these things are happening, and these things have been happening for a very long time. And so the question really becomes is, what are those? The outliers? What are the weird things that we really don't have good explanations for? And why are we not spending more time up there in scientific spaces? I mean, that becomes the bizarre part of this to me, because disclosure is one thing, okay, that'll convince everybody. The other disclosure space is, like you said, you're convinced. James is convinced. Like there are a lot, I don't know if I'm convinced, but it doesn't matter, because I think that as the data continues to come in, maybe I'll change my mind in a moment when I see something too. And by the way, so you were hinting at the things you'd seen. I don't know if you want to tell that story again, because, I know we've been friends here for literally 8 years or longer on this show. And I've heard you tell this tale a few times. I don't know if you want to do the quick brief for maybe the new people that don't know the things you did see in the military. So kind of when you hint at them and say the things I've seen, I don't want to twist your arm and make you say things you don't want to say, but if you want to do a brief version of that, just so people understand what you're talking about and what you have seen, I think it may be important to kind of fill in some gaps.
For a shorter version, I was served in the Navy for 14 years. I did 4 deployments, 3 for the war. I've been in Iraq. I've been Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom, Afghanistan. And then I did another one that was, right before I got out of the Navy, which was my final 4th one. That was the third aircraft carrier I was on. I'm an aviation mechanic. So, but what I seen when I was out there, and I'll give you a couple stories real quick. So the one was, there was one that we were doing night ops, right? And we have what we call a plat, and it's like night vision where you can see on the flight deck. You'll see people out there moving around, you know what I mean? Because everything's black, right? You're wearing just light. If you got lights on, it's got to be a red light or a blue light, right? You can't move around. you know, you got to move. You can't have anything. It's like if you was, you know, in the middle of the night and you see a little light, you could see that, you know, it's like a, you know, you see that at miles away. So that's why you have to have a different color. Anyway, when we were launching aircraft, right, they took off, you know, we have to make sure that everything's good to go. They're in a certain distance, and then we call, you know, they call the ball, or they call it off. So we come back down and we're ready to go down, you know, we're splitting up to go down and to go, you know, go to eat. Right. And then I look at the plat, and it looks like they're coming back. Like there's two stars, or there's two lights on both sides. And they're like, it looks like from my vantage point, looking at the plat, it looked like they're coming up. So we ran back up, you know, I was like, they look like they're coming back. So I haven't heard a call on the radio, but we ran up anyway, just to see, and there's nothing there. It's just darkness. You know, there wasn't like a lot of stars that, you know, there was stars out there, but we're talking like in a close proximity of the aircraft carrier. I'm like, what the hell? So we went back. So we're like, and everybody, we're all looking at each other. I'm like, what the hell? So we went back down, and you could see them on the plat again. And they're like, nah, it's got to be nothing, just the stars or something. So I was like, man. So I ran back up there, and then I'm looking at, you know, I'm like pinpointing where these things were at. And you can't see them with your visual eye, but you could see them through the plat. As you know, people that have been out there that, you know, you've seen usually night vision goggles. That's the only, or night vision, that you can only see these things moving up across the sky. But these things were following the aircraft carriers, and I sat and watched that, you know, for about, because I'm always intrigued in something like that. I sat there and just watched, instead of TV or whatever was going on in the shop. I'm like sitting there looking at the plat for like hours, you know, and then finally, you know, it seemed like they just like floated off, and that was it. But the other time when I'm talking about was,
so real quick,
what I seen,
those were not ours.
What I seen,
just to recap, the things you saw were not ours. It was not our craft coming back. There was something in the sky that multiple witnesses saw on a military vessel in the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay.
We was in yeah.
Just to clarify. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, like like I said, we could see it on the plat, but we can't see it, you know, like going up on, you know, on deck and seeing it. There was nothing there. But you could see it on the plat, like I was saying, it's like night vision, you know what I mean? You could see a certain distance. And these things were just sitting there, and we're moving, you know, the boat's clipping pretty good, because after that, we got to be in a certain area, right? Just movements. We got to have a certain movement. We got in the movement, we're in the direction we were moving, you know, against the wind. So we're like moving pretty, you know, the wind's coming over the you know, our deck, right? It's pretty good. And there was nothing there, bro.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to clarify for everybody what happened. I'll go ahead with the next one. So I didn't want to derail you and turn you back around, but go ahead.
Anyway, when I was serving on the West Coast, and we were, you know, I made rank, and I'm in these boards, you know, I'm in these meetings, and, you know, they're being trained by higher ranking, like chiefs, senior chiefs, master chiefs. They're coming in and, you know, giving us all this information that we need to, you know, write down, learn everything. Because you're making rank, right? You're getting close to chief. Anyway, in there was a senior chief, female. She was giving her part of the speech. But we're like looking, you know, she's looking at the ground, and she looked up at me. And in her eyes, I seen her pupils, not the whole part of it, not the white part, but just the pupils. It blinked sideways, like it was like grabbing air, like on the movies they have nowadays. But it's just the pupil part. And when she did that, like, it made me freeze in my seat for a minute. But like, and then when I kind of like, you know, it kind of stunned me for a minute, because I was like, holy effing, you know what I mean? I was freaking out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but in that, so we sat there, you know, for a while, and then like, so I was like, all right, you know, these things talk, you know, like they don't talk with their mouths, you know, through their minds. So I was like, I want to see it again. But she stayed away from me. Like, it was weird, because she stayed away from me the whole time I was there, the last 2 years, because she, you know, she was getting ready to retire but she stayed away from me the whole time. Even when I had to be up there in the areas where she was at or had to dealing with her, she wouldn't even still look me in the eye. That was the whole weird part. But that was, and you know, I was just like, you know, I came back home and told my wife, and I was like, you know, I was tripping for like weeks. But the thing about it is, you know, she left, right? She retired and everything. And then like 2 years later, I got transferred over to the East Coast. And it was just kind of weird because you usually stay mostly on the West Coast. If you're a West Coast sailor, you move up and down, like, you know, like either stay in San Diego or you're moving up and down the coast. Like, you know, people go to Washington or, you know what I mean? There's different places to move up and down California or in Oregon and Washington. Right. But usually they don't move your whole family and everything over to the East Coast. And I got transferred over there. When I was over there on that coast, I come in and we were like, I was running, you know, I was first class and I was running a shop, right? We were mustering in the morning. So I'm on the computer doing all this stuff I need to do before we ran, you know, did muster in person in another shop. So when I got done, I walk in there and I'm like still kind of like half asleep. You know, I just got to work. You know what I mean? We're all, you know, just sitting there. I'm holding my coffee and I'm walking up to a couple of guys and I was like, "What's up, man?" And next, you know, the first part of the conversation he was just saying was just like, he said he was talking to Rodriguez or something like that. I can't remember the names, but he was like, let's say it was Rodriguez. He goes, I was talking to Rodriguez, and he goes, I told him like I could, you know about me going into like the future or like, you know, running like he could jump through time or some shit. And I'm like, that's what he started the conversation with me. And I'm like, what? You know, in my mind, I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. And for me there, and he's kind of just looking down at his coffee cup, you know, looking down. He's not even looking at me, but we're literally like arm's length from him. Right. I'm arm's length from this guy. And he looked up and he did the exact same thing. And when he did that, I was like, it was weird. The first feeling I felt after he did that, right, and he blinked, because I asked him, I was like, well, what did he say? Because I was just playing along. And he goes, oh, he was just often, he answered me, he's like, oh, he just kind of, he tripped out, and he didn't know what to say, and he looked up at me, and that's when his eyes blinked like that. And the first feeling I got was like, they're telling me that they know that I know. That's the first feeling I felt, like throughout my whole body. And I was like, I tripped out. I went home, told Michelle too, and I was like, they know that I know, and you know what I mean? And I probably should just, you know, I had to back off of some of the stuff that I was saying, you know?
Yeah, that's weird. Were you doing the show then? Were you doing your own show?
I was doing shows back then. I was even doing on the East Coast too, and I was talking, you know, I was doing some, you know, I had some things going on where I was, you know, I was talking about all kinds of stuff. But at the time, you know, it was weird because, yeah, man, that was weird too, because he was like, because, you know, at first, like when the first senior chief, right, I know what I seen. But like she was kind of because the room was kind of small, right? So she was probably like on the outside table. She was probably like, well, I was sitting on the end. She was coming around the corner. So I would say she was probably like maybe 6-7 feet from me. This guy was arm's length. I mean, we looked right each other in the face and he did that. And I tripped out, man. After that, I was like, I know we serve with them. They look like us, and you know, and then like all the stories from even all the guys that I've been following for years, right? That talk about this, like the whistleblowers. I mean, I'm talking the old men before they died. I can go through their names, but they were talking about like that. You know what I mean? That they walk among us. You know, you've heard that, and it's true, and it's weird because it's like if they really wanted to show you, I'm pretty sure if you're looking, you're gonna see. But it was something like that, or it could be just, I don't know if it's like technology they can use where, you know, they're changing our minds so we can see what they want us to see, or they have the ability to shapeshift.
Yeah, I was going to mention that real quick.
The only, you know, go ahead.
Just real quick, I was going to mention that maybe there is some technology that maybe shows that to you, or makes you see things that may or may not be there, or reveals them inadvertently, or you know what I mean? Like maybe there's like a whole cascade of these technological spaces in our human mind that kind of come and go, and especially in the military, you guys are around the most cutting edge stuff all the time. So who really knows? So I just wanted to add that, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because that's what was coming to my mind when you were kind of telling the tale there. But sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Okay, so like throughout my whole life, right? I'm gonna tell you, like I'm a kind of a contactee. I don't really remember it unless I do like regression. And people told me, my brothers even like hooked me up with the name. I've had this lady's number for like 2 years now. I just sat on it, but because I don't know if I want to go down that hole yet. But like throughout my whole life, I've seen, like, I'm telling you, man, I've seen all kinds of, and not to like, I'm not trying to boast myself, I want to let people know, like, there's all kinds of different shapes out there. I've seen all kinds of different sizes, shapes, and everything. But it was like, they come and go and fast, right? Even the guy that was like, when I went to, like I was telling you, like that guy me and Michelle went to down in, he claims to, even before, the guy that wants to, you go spend hundreds of dollars, I don't know how much money they're doing now when you go to the G5 or C5, they call it. Right, and they're supposed to call the UFOs in at night. This guy was doing it in the broad daylight. Downtown, I think it was MacArthur Park, right? I wanted to see if he could do it, right? Me and Michelle went down there. His name was Bingham, Robert Bingham. He called himself the Summoner. And he brought on, and he had on his videos, he had on Facebook, he wanted to call on all naysayers, everything. And he would summon these things that come in, and they would come in it was weird. It was not like in a too far away where you couldn't see them. Like, they would come in, man. I seen him through, like, this guy had his camera had a telescope that was like, like a telescope on the end of it. And when he zoomed in, I was like, can I see that too through that? I mean, you could see these things, and it was like this shape. But it was weird. It could like almost change shape while it was moving across the sky. I don't know if it was like that because, if like our eyes can't really know how fast it's moving, like through cameras or even like video, it'll leave a streak even at, if you're catching so many frames per second or whatever. But these things were moving, like even standing still, these things, like the outer coating of it looked weird, dude. Even there was one, it was two red ones that were like going around in each other. I sat there for like 3 hours, 4 hours with them. And then, me and Michelle had a bounce. Because we were in San Diego. But that day was that was the one that was crazy too. But yeah, man, but like, there was one time I just want to bring in this one story up. I told this one, but maybe like only once. But like, I came back from deployment, and like all that stopped when I was in the Navy. When I was 3 years back to back deployments, right? And when I came back, though, I finally got my own apartment, and like I could feel these. I was wide awake on my bed, laying there with my eyes closed. You lay there, you're just kind of waking up. But you don't want to open your eyes, but you could hear everything around you. Man, something like, it was weird, man. It was like something jumped on my bed, and I could feel it like walking around. But when I jumped up, and because I thought maybe it was a cat, like I left my screen door open, because I had my door open, but to my bedroom, but it was closed. Like I jumped up, like I was moving all the way around, and I was like, here they come again. It was just a feeling like, it was like weird, like it was welcoming back. Back to like land or whatever. But it was weird, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that filling in the context there. And Kelly, I was lucky enough to meet both Kelly and Michelle. They were here in Vegas. We spent an hour or so together, and very smart people. And we talked some of this stuff off the record a little bit too. This stuff's important, and this is why when you talk about whistleblowers or things like this, there's many people that have experiences like Kelly has seen similar things, and they kind of come out into the zeitgeist, and people just write it off as, oh, you're a wacko or whatever. And this is part of the problem, is that I mean, you've got a name of these people, right? I'm not saying you should dox them or anything, but I mean, is there anybody like investigating these types of things? And that becomes my point. The larger point here is that let's say there was a program of like Close Encounters or something with the exchange program, and there are, entities among us. Let's say that's fully cement. Beyond that, if you saw some of this and could point out the direction of where it was, where it came from, even names and dates and places, I don't think you'll get anybody to take you seriously. And that becomes the issue, that it's probably such a compartmentalized space that it's easier to just write you off as insane and, put you on disability or something than it is to, kind of blow the lid off the entire thing, which is what we've been dealing with forever.
Yeah, man. For me, it was kind of hard to talk about it for a while because that's when I just started doing my own show. You know what I mean? Because I was looking for. That's where I found like your guys' show, right? When I first found you guys, it was I was looking for different platforms. You know what I mean? For people that like contact these. You know what I mean? Because I like to hear what they're saying. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't know if I believe like what they, you know what I mean? But I don't know because I never had a contact like that. But from what the things that I've seen and, that I've done and all the things that happen within my life, you know what I mean? It's different. I don't know if it's different. So that's why I listened to, like, I was trying to find the one that I found like this show, right? So for me, it was like, when I did that, I was like looking for, more, I was kind of like more or less trying to find experiencers, I guess, that were like, had my experiences, or listening to everybody else's experiences and wondering, you know what I mean? Like, are these different species? You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Or is it all the same species that are doing other things to make it think like it's other ones? That's where you hear all, because I haven't never, like I said, I don't remember ever seeing a figure, right? I mean, like I said, I've had to say these numbers to do a regression for 2 years, but I'm still hesitant to, try to do that. But, so I don't know, like, I couldn't say, like, all right, it's the Greys, or, it was the Palladians, or, all these people that claim to have, see these, even like the picture of Valiant Thurs, those pictures of, like, him, this guy from Venus and stuff, like, I don't know, man, like, I just don't know if I'm ready to even have that one right there yet, like, you know what I mean, to open that door yet.
I feel you. Hey, real quick, if you decide you're going to, make sure you take somebody with you that you trust in there with you, because that, messing with your head that way can be very dangerous. So just make sure somebody's there that can be like, hey, stop, pull the plug, because they can put ideas in there that weren't there before. And that's not a good thing. And that's been proven. That's full on science. And especially when you're dealing with an experiencer in this particular capacity, I wonder if you could maybe not just draw some things out. I wonder if you could intentionally suppress things, or just that you come out and you're not you anymore. Like, that stuff terrifies the crap out of me. So just make sure you have somebody you love and you trust there that can be like, hey, stop this crap. This is not why we came here, and can kind of pull the plug. So you are completely backed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I to be either my wife or my brother, the one I was talking about. He kind of gave me that information, but yeah, man. I mean, that's another thing, because I don't want nobody bouncing around in my head like that. You know what I mean? So if they can do it with, if they're going to put you under, like, hypnotize and stuff like that, that's. But my brother said, this lady does also regressions, like past life regressions. You know what I mean? But this one, I just want to, like, I don't know, man.
I'm with you.
I want sometimes because it just, you know what I mean? I already know, but like, I mean, I already know, right? I already know, but like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know the whole, I haven't opened up that whole book yet. Like half of it's like, I've read like probably half the, you know, let's say half the book, right? But to finish the rest of the chapters, it's going to be, that one's just, I don't know what I'm waiting for, man.
I'm with you, and just be careful, right? You'll know when you're ready, and if you're not, look, there's nothing making you either. So like that doesn't have to be a door you can kind of go down, because some of these memories have their way of resurfacing in dreams and some of these other places too. So you know, like maybe you just kind of wake up one day and recognize or remember some things that you didn't previously. You know what I mean? So because memory is one of those strange aspects of being human that's not reliable, but also it changes often. And some of the things that we do repress or even forget have a way of kind of resurfacing in a moment. So just, I'm with you, brother. I back you up 100%. Decide what you decide when you decide it, and you'll know when you're ready, I think.
Yeah, but what I do want to, of course, I want to record it, you know what I mean? Because there was one time, let me give you a story real quick before I get off the rut. There was a time when I was telling you that there was a time I believe I had passed away, right? And this is when I was, you know, like I would say 5th, 6th grade, maybe 7th, right? But, you know, I was really sick, and I went to the bathroom to you know, I was throwing up, and I was closing my eyes. I didn't want to see it anymore, and that's what I was telling myself. I don't want to see this anymore. And it was like just dry heaving after a while, you know. And then next thing you know, I open my eyes, and I'm looking at myself laying on the ground. And then I just like, my body went through the building I lived in, the apartment building, and I seen that one. It was like I was just moving away, you know. You see the town and then the city, and then like I was in outer space. There was no heaven or nothing. And I was just like moving through space, you know, planetary systems and stuff, and then next you know, it stopped. I stopped and was moving back. So I was telling my brother one time, you know, he came visit me in San Diego, and I was telling him about that. Yeah, and you know, I was telling him that story, and he goes, "Yeah, I remember that." He goes, "Yeah, you were in there in the bathroom for a long time." He goes, "And I was gonna get up, so you know, I was worried about you to see because you were in the bathroom for a long time, because I was gonna wake up, you know, I was gonna get up and check on you." He goes, "But you came in back into the room." He goes, "So you were laying down." He goes, "I was just checking to see if you were still breathing, so I was just watching you." He goes, "And next thing you know," he told me a story that made my mind blow. He said, "Next thing you know," he goes, "you stood up between us," because it was when we were younger, right? We had one, you know, our bed was on each side of the room, and there was just an aisle in between, and then we could just jump on each other's bed. But I guess he said, I stood up in the middle of the aisle. I started spinning my arms. I brought my arms to the side, like, you know, shoulder length, you know, now to my side. And I just started spinning, and I started spinning faster and faster. He goes, "But when you were in the middle of your spinning," he goes, "you started speaking a language that I have never even heard of in my life." He goes, and he goes, "You were just spinning and spinning." He goes, and he goes, you had me back in the corner. He goes, and then he just like kind of, you stumbled, he fell on my bed. And he goes, "Man, and I kicked you off of there." But yeah, I was like, what kind of language, right? When he told, and this was like, bro, this was like when I was still in the Navy, right? So I mean, we're talking like maybe less than, I mean, like, shit, it was like 30 years before he told me something. I'm like, how come you never told me that? That's weird. Hey, like any good brother would do, they'd kick you off the bed. So just you're in good company there. He goes, I've never, he goes, "Man, you were tripping me out." He goes, "You were speaking some language I'd never even heard." You know, so I started to send him some like ancient Sumerian, ancient like Egyptian, ancient, like, he never replied to me. I haven't asked him again, but it was weird though, man. He goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "You just tilted your head back and you just start spinning like you're looking in the sky, and you start speaking some weird language, and then you just started spinning in a circle." Man, that tripped me out, and I was like, "What?" Super weird, man. Yeah, dude. Shout out to your brother. I'd kick you off the bed too. I would have kicked myself off the bed too.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And this is the point, right? So I've heard these before, and I know Kelly's told fractions or parts of these over the years, but it is good that, we have new people coming through all the time and sort of refreshing these tales. And even like, this is the thing too, like we've been talking for years, Kelly and I, and many of you know him and all the rest of that, but it's important to recognize that we're not, you see what's happening when we have experiencers on the show. We're not making up new stories all the time. Like he's told these stories several times on this show, and to me personally, off the record and stuff for some other details that we won't talk about. But the point is that this is how right? This is where my intuition clicks and goes, okay, I believe these people because they're not making up a new thing every damn time. And there are some people out there that are just making up a new thing every damn time. And it's like, okay, so if you can snap your fingers and create some level of alien contact in a minute, so it should be very easy to replicate. And in this case, these are spaced out over the course of his life, and he's had many different experiences. And some of the things are literally mind blowing, the things he's seen. And so you get it when I say, look, I don't know what you've seen. And so if you tell me something, I want to hear what you have to say, because there are experiences out there that certainly raise some eyebrows and make you wonder what the hell's happening in the world around us. I appreciate you very much, brother. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for calling. Final thought, and thank you for sharing the tales there and the experiences. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Final thought for me would be I just still keep my mind open, man. Like, I still don't really, fully understand, like, okay, so, you see, like, like I said, I try to take on all information, all stories of, like, what people got to say of, they believe that it's their truth, right? About, like, different species of aliens that they've been talked to and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. Like, I keep my mind open. So for me, it's going to be always and forever. You know what I mean? The things that happened already, I can't change. But for me, if anybody out there is ever and don't want to talk about it, or don't know how to even try to talk to somebody about it. Or maybe you have and they just thought you're crazy. You're not crazy, man. I just want to tell you out there, if you don't ever want to, there's other people. That's why I kind of stuck around here, because, I'm trying to, like, spread my stories out there, trying to, like I said, find somebody that's maybe had the same thing, maybe, I follow some people too that say, like, they've been abducted, and, like, others, they even tell you, like, if you ever wake up in, like, something happened to you and you wake up in a room and you see this something, I can't remember what it was. He said, if you see this tree, he goes, that you were part of, the same thing where he was at. So that's why I try to tell people, like, if maybe they've seen the things that I've seen, that, maybe it could be the same stories. I'm just trying to, I don't know what I'm trying to really find, man. I'm just trying to find, like, people, I guess, or just, I don't know, man.
Some level of truth. Hey, some level of truth. And wouldn't it be wild one day if somebody out there heard your experience and were in the military and had something very similar happen to them? Like, this is what you're hoping for. This is what I'm hoping for. And by not talking about it, that'll never happen. And so that's why this space is so important, because there are things happening out there that are as yet quantifiable that still happen to people. And so it's important, as you know. That's why we've been bros for a long time, because, look, I haven't seen anything quite to that degree, but I believe you. And that becomes the space here. It's like, okay, so what do you believe? And, we have very credible people that have seen some things. So what does it mean? And what level of truth extends beyond that? And has anybody out there seen anything similar? That's the whole point. Appreciate you very much, brother.
All right, brother, man. You have a good night, and we'll talk to you next time.
Take care. Tell Michelle we said hi. Always a pleasure, and have a great night.
All right, man. You too.
Thank you. Thank you. There you go. Kelly in Colorado. Literally the first guy that called and called back. He's been calling ever since. So what do you make of that? Like I said, I'm telling you, full-hearted, I believe the man. So what does that mean? And so when he brings up Valiant Thor, right? It's like it kind of been laughed off in many UFO circles. But if what he saw is legitimate, Valiant Thor plays. You get it? It's weird, man. Like, this is a weird reality we live in. James, anything to add? We'll go to Eric, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, always grateful for Kelly for sharing his experiences and continuing to do so. I do think I agree. It is important to keep doing that because you never know. There's always going to be people that hear the things later that didn't hear it the first time. Yeah, I just it is. I'd be careful as well. Like you were talking about with the regression thing and the hypnosis thing. So many of the major cases that everyone knows about through, as far as not paranormal, all that too, but UFO and or abduction experiences. The people after the fact go through some kind of regression or hypnosis, and it's hard to know because of leading questions and all that, how much of what it comes out of those sessions is real or is created by the interaction between the person asking the questions and then the person's mind who is being hypnotized. So anyway, that's a whole other show, a whole other topic.
Yeah, be very careful with that. Shout out to Axel Steele. I don't know if he's still around, but meaning that hanging out with us, but I haven't seen him in forever. But he used to say that he practiced some of this hypnosis stuff, and he said it's very real and it's very scary to all. And he's the one who gave me that advice, by the way. He's all, if you're ever going to do anything like that, make sure you bring somebody with you that you implicitly trust and you record the entire thing, because you never know what kind of shenanigans can happen with the person doing the hypnotizing stuff. So yeah, great advice there. And like I said, not even mine. It's from other great minds out there. Appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for being patient. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Eric in Ohio. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? What do you got for us tonight? Go right ahead.
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Living the dream. Bizarre tales by dark of night. That's what I live for.
I'm a little woozy, but I'm sure I'll be fine.
I got you, buddy.
So first of all, I just wanted to say I liked the extended format of the show, and I agree with James. Like, if it's going to be like over 3 or 4, you might divide it into arcs or something like that. It kind of reminded me of how in Star Trek: The Next Generation, the story of the Klingons and Worf was told out over like 2 or 3 episodes that would be together, and then there would be a bunch of episodes in between, and three more would link together that would continue that story. And they did that all the way into DS9. So I could see how that format would work with this, where if you had a topic that was important and had to have like base discussions that led up to something, that you could extend that out. And I thought it worked out really well. I enjoyed listening to the shows that I was able to listen to. And I thought that the enthusiasm was really good. You seemed very enthused as well as the other people. It seemed like it was enthusing.
Yeah, there's definitely something happening. Like, once again, quantifying that and really making it stapling down answers is harder. But absolutely, I was super excited about it. I still am. It's just I'm not sure where else to take it, because we kind of hit the arc, and now I'm like, okay, let's put it to bed and let's do some other stuff. But yeah, I appreciate that feedback, and I think you're right. It's sort of like the Monster of the Week X-Files, but then sometimes they sprinkle in some mythology stuff that's like longer term. I think you're right. That makes a bunch of sense.
And then I guess something about disclosure, and gosh, I don't even know how to preamble any of this, and I don't even know if anything matters. And it's nothing that I've really ever said to anyone, because I don't think anyone cares. And, there are parts of it that different parts of my family know. And in some cases, they've been able to fill in details and perspectives that I didn't have, that was, that produced revelations for me, and understanding my personal past, like in particular between the ages of 8 through 10. I was always far as I can remember from being maybe 6, man, I was always super interested in science and stars and planets and the idea of life on other planets and things like that. I was always a Star Trek kid, that kind of thing. And I can remember in 3rd grade, I went into the library that we had and I was looking for books on astronomy, and they told me they only had them up in the high school library, which was above, 3 flights up in the school that I was in, and I wasn't allowed to go there. So when recess happened, because it was like 3rd grade, on recess, I told the teacher I had to use the bathroom, and I went in and I snuck up and stole 3 astronomy books. And I kept them with me because we were always moving around. We like every year we were moving somewhere else, and I was in a different school, and there wasn't much consistency in my life. And these books kind of gave me that. I could read them over and over again, and it really just, it was really exciting for me to read about the things that I was reading in these books. I thought, wow, this is so cool. This is like real Star Trek stuff. And I know in 4th grade, when I got into 4th grade, we were starting to memorize times tables, and there was a chart on the wall, and it had the times tables going from 1 to 10 on the left side, and at the top side it had all the kids' names, and they were filling in with colored pencils once they had memorized one section of this, and they were trying to memorize all of the times tables. And they kept sending me down at that point. It was just one class you would go to, and they divided that class up into different subjects. And every day at that time, they would make me go to the basement and do testing. And I think originally they said it was because I didn't do well on spelling or something like that. But I had to go down there, and I would go down there, and I would wait down in the basement in a chair, and this lady would eventually come in. A lot of times she was late, and nobody ever came down and said anything. And I would just sit there and wait, and she would come, and she had, I remember, like kind of a tweed jacket on that was like black and white, and she had like glasses, and she had always like 6 to 8 big binders, like the Mead binders that were blue and kind of fabric-y on the outside, and they were all filled with these really thick manila pages. Like they weren't normal pages, they were like kind of more like cardboard pages, and they all had like geometrical shapes and designs on them. They weren't a Rorschach test or nothing like that, but she would go through those and she would flip those, and she would ask me to tell her a story about what I was seeing. And it was, what she was showing me was really, really abstract. Like you could just really kind of make up whatever you wanted to make up when she would flip through these. And we would do this like every week. We would do this. And I can remember feeling terrible as I could see on that chart all day when I was in that class, everybody filling up their little squares and stuff with their colored pencils. I only had 2 because I hadn't learned any of my math at all, because every time we would be doing math, I would be down there and if it wasn't the flip things, she would either have me write something and tell me I could write whatever I wanted. She never wanted me to write anything specific, or they would put headphones on me and have me listen to tones and frequencies. And then they said that was to see if I was musically inclined. But I don't even know why I was down there in the first place. We never did any spelling at all. But I didn't care a whole lot because I just, she would let me tell any story I wanted to tell or write anything I wanted. I remember one of the things I wrote was about the life cycle of the sun. Like I found out in those books it was called Soul, and that it lived about 10 billion years and had made it halfway through that lifespan, and how it was going to swell up as a red giant when it hit this, like I read all of that and I thought it was amazing. And that's what I wanted to write about. Right. So that's what I was writing, but I don't know. And then she brought my mom in and they had this discussion, and it took a long time. And then my mom sent me to Texas. My grandparents lived in Texas. They lived in a place called Powderly, Texas, which was in Lamar County and very close to the Red River border of Oklahoma. And to a school called Aaron Parker Elementary, and then I didn't have to do any more tests or anything. But because I kept going down there for those tests, like I was kind of freaked out about it, but nobody ever said anything about it. And it was a whole different culture down there, and they didn't like Yankees at all. And I was constantly getting into fights and having problems and stuff. But eventually, it all smoothed out. But when I was 10 and I moved down there, I was on my grandfather's farm, and we had like 600 chickens, and we had cows and pigs and, gardens and some orchard and all these things. And then every day I had to get up before school and feed these chickens. And I had to do the same thing when I would come home off the bus. I had to feed these chickens, and I had to help him train them at night. So it was like this big place that had a fence around it. It was all flat, and the yard was big. It had a garden off to the left and a big yard off to the right, and then a big yard off to the left. And there's a driveway that went from the house all the way to the end of the fence. And at night, my grandmother worked at St. Joseph Hospital in Paris, Texas, and my grandfather would drive from Powderly to Paris to get her and come back. And then after he came back, I would finish up watching what I was watching on TV, and I was supposed to go out and shut the gate. So like most nights, I went out to shut the gate, and I got about halfway down the driveway, and I could see off into the distance to my right and ahead that it looked like there was a building out there. And I knew there was never a building out there. There was nothing out there but some trees and nothing else other than that. It's like there's many, it was hard to see other people's houses. Like there's a lot of space around everyone's house. And then I realized that whatever it was coming closer. But it looked really big, like the side of a building or a pole barn or something, but it had lights on it. So I stood there in the driveway, in the middle of the driveway, just watching this thing come closer and closer. And I realized it was, I thought, floating toward me. And I could still see it had Earth navigation lights. It had a red port light and a green starboard light. But as it got closer, it was nothing that I had ever seen before or since. It was a triangular shaped craft, and around the edge of it probably was like at least a foot in thickness, that was kind of flat and had like machinery, and it didn't make any sound at all. And that's what freaked me out more than anything, was that I could hear the wind coming and going every so often on a breeze through some pine trees that was at the edge of the property. And I could hear that, and I couldn't hear this at all. And it just kind of drifted by like a Zeppelin would, right? But it was made of metal. It was absolutely and definitely made of metal. And it couldn't have been any further away from me than 100 yards at the most. Like if I could have jumped 4 times the amount I could normally jump, I could maybe almost touch it, right? And close enough that I should have heard or felt something, some kind of vibration or anything, right? But it was absolutely, completely silent within the context of everything else I could hear at night around me, like all the normal sounds. And it was such a weird juxtaposition that I honestly just, like, my mind broke, and I wasn't sure what I was looking at. I wasn't sure what was happening. And it just kept going. It didn't stop. It just kept going and continued on. And I just stood there just thinking, well, I don't know what to do with what I just seen or what I just experienced. And I'm not sure it really matters, because I think I'm okay and nothing happened. And I went and I shut the gate, and I told some friends about it at the time, and I asked some adults about things like that, but nobody really understood. Like, I didn't go crazy and tell the adults what I actually seen. I just asked them if they'd ever seen anything, like airplanes or anything weird like that. And they're like, no, nothing at all. And I talked with some kids and stuff, and nobody had any idea at all. I mean, to the point where it wasn't a ridicule or anything. Like, nobody just seemed to care at all. And it felt like I had experienced something that And I remember it I remember it really, really, really well to this day. I didn't block it out or anything, and it wasn't traumatic other than I know I absolutely seen something. And even if the worst case scenario is I was a 10-year-old kid and I had a daydream or something, I don't think my daydreams were never like that. They were never that much of an enigma, literally hanging over my head, like floating like a brick shouldn't, like just, I couldn't even understand. Like, that's another thing too. Like, I kept thinking Zeppelin, because anything else would have had to have been traveling faster to maintain in the air, right? And so I don't know, man, but it freaked me out. And I think that's the thing I was trying to express to you guys in a couple of nights, in the past and stuff, and just really wasn't able to bring myself to do it because it makes me feel kind of sick and woozy to talk about these parts of my life because I don't think anybody cares that much about it. And I know some weird things were going on, especially like with schools and how we were switching and why, and some things I found out later from my family, but I don't know if it's connected. I mean, it's like things like that makes me wonder what's connected, right? Like, in my mind, I connect the weird testing with seeing the thing that I seen because it all seemed to happen in sequence for me, or it felt like it got into it, like some kind of a climax. I mean, I was always a kid that would get in trouble. Like, even in kindergarten, I was just tall enough that when we all went for a bathroom break, I could reach the light switch. And if I stood on my tiptoes, I could grab that light switch and turn off the lights, and all the kids would start crying. And I thought that was hilarious. And I would turn it back on and I'd turn it back off. And the kid went out crying. And then I was getting ready to turn it off again. And the door opened and this hand grabbed me and took me outside. And they put a note on me and sent me to the end of a hallway and put me in a chair by the principal's office. They left me there. I can remember thinking, man, I wish I could really read, because it would be handy to know what this note that's pinned to me says before I go in that room. And I even if I took it off, I knew I couldn't read. So I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just, whatever happens, happens. But I mean,
the scarlet letter marked for death.
Yeah. So, man, like, in my head, I guess I figure that, gosh, that could be anything, right? That could be government technology. That can be anything. And then even later on in life, sometimes I would say maybe it was like, if UFOs were really clever, they would use those navigational lights to fool people. People would say, oh, it's an airplane because look, there's the green and the red light, right? But the thing was, dude, like nothing flies like I seen that thing slowly hover and fly with no sound, right? And whatever that was, either I was having a stroke when I was 10, or I seen something that is out of context with anything that I've ever understood, in any sense unrelated from that. And I never seen nothing like that again until I think when I watched the X-Files, man, and I started learning that actually triangular craft had been seen by many, many people. And so then I wondered about that, it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, is there a base there or something, like, why would they be there? And it didn't seem like a personal encounter or anything like that to me, because it just kept going. But daggone it, I know I seen something, and I don't know what the hell I seen. And it bothers me because I still don't have any place to put that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I do wonder, and this is a cynical Mike in this, so I'm not discounting what you're saying at all, but I do wonder, because we can replicate this. We could have replicated the technology then, at least, to fool people. So I wonder if there was sort of a government situation going on where they did launch sort of these quiet Zeppelins, where they, painted things on them that would kind of glow properly and kind of float them over places, and then see what level of feedback they would get from a community or from an individual, or, you know what I mean? Like sort of that MK Ultra for the masses I'm always talking about, but more of a condensed to a particular area, geographic area of, maybe pre-testing this stuff they didn't want us to know about? Like, if we did something weird over this area, what kind of feedback are we going to get? Are people going to shut their mouth because they're like, this is weird and I don't want to tell anybody about it? Or would the whole town be talking about it? You see what I'm saying? Sort of one of those aspects. I could totally see the government kind of pulling shenanigans like that just to see what kind of reaction they would get on obviously weird craft that could not really be identified or quantified in that the airspace back when. And so I'm not saying it's that. I'm saying that I do wonder with enough of the sightings in a similar space. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's definitely a creepy spot to be in. Was there anything else weird about it? Did you have like a weird, some people say that there was like a, I don't know, like a telepathic space, or did you, other than sort of just a normal WTF kind of in your bones?
Man,
was there anything else?
I've thought about that a lot because the whole thing was so weird. It was like a wave of weirdness washing over me, and it's like you're like, hey man, can you distinguish that one frequency and that cacophony of weird that's hitting you? And it's like I have it. I mean, I don't know, man. I really don't know, because I felt like, I don't even know how to put words to it, man. It's like I felt like it was closer. I felt like I was closer to it than I really was. Like there was a small time before it was right overhead that I felt like I was closer to it. That's the only thing I can think of to say to express what I felt. It only lasted maybe about 30 seconds, and then it was just pretty much pure stun. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there was a small connection there, and maybe as if for that length of time, attention was actually focused on me before moving on.
Yeah, I dig it. Or maybe sort of that dissociation effect of distance, and you're like, okay, so now it seems almost like it's close enough to touch, but maybe it wasn't nowhere near that. I mean, it does feel to me that in those times, just speaking about physiology, we seem to kind of step outside of ourselves. When you see something that just scares the hell out of you, maybe not fear directly, but something that really is a true ontological shock. You feel like you've stepped outside of your body for a moment, and sort of those normal sensations don't play in the space anymore. Yeah, the third person effect. There you go. Waka flocka. Yeah, see there. Yeah, you kind of have that feeling like you're not you anymore. And so that's it's so strange to me. And by the way, too, you're not the only one. Obviously, like that, a very similar tale has been told by thousands of people the world over, and that's just in the West. Like, who knows? I can't translate Ukrainian or whatever, but I'll bet you this stuff has been happening everywhere for a very long time. I don't know. I appreciate you sharing that tale. You got a take on what it is, or you just want to leave it as it is?
No, man, I have no idea. I haven't heard of the third person effect, and there's probably a lot I don't know about it because I didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't even something that you could really dwell on. I mean, what could I have ever done? I couldn't invoke it again. Like, there was nothing to study about it. I mean, honestly, I did subscribe to 3 UFO magazines. I did that, and that's where I started being interested in these things and stuff that ultimately in some way led me here, right? But it started with that, right? Like trying to maybe on my own figure out what was going on. But it lasted for like a couple of years, and then I was 12 and on to D&D and soon girls and stuff, and all that just kind of got washed behind me. Nobody ever asked, nobody ever cared and stuff. But with the topic of synchronicities, and with the topic of disclosure, and with the topic of tricksters, I thought that it maybe is a good time to say this, right? Because this is something that I was having a hard time even saying to you and James personally. Like at individual times in conversation, personal conversations, and together in a conversation, I wasn't able to do it then, right? Because it would just kind of freak me out, right? I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. or anything, or even if I want it to be a part of my identity or even ever talk about it again, right? Like, it's just such a weird go nowhere, do nothing sort of an experience, right? Like, I had this experience and now I don't know what more there can be said about it. But for what it was worth, that was the weird experience that, it convinced me that I don't know everything, that you got to keep searching, because there's all kinds of things around you all the time that you can't understand or explain. And you might be privy to seeing a glimpse of it here and there, the math bleeding through the matrix, and you see something, but what do you do with it when it's so askew of context, right? Like, who do you share it with, and how cathartic is that sharing? What cathartic release is being given? I don't know, right? Because to me, it always feels like the same speed bump when I think about it in my mind, like, don't go there. You don't know what the hell's going on there. Just don't go. It's like, so I just kind of mostly avoid it, man.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at you, of course. So we're bros. So the point is that what you just said, I appreciate it very much. Like, he's not kidding. That a couple different times he tried to tell me and James. And he's like, I don't even know where to begin. I just can't even get this out. So, we'll just, pretend I didn't say that type of thing and move on. But he shared it here publicly. And so this is why this is so important. And I appreciate it very much. I know you're overcoming the little sort of returning wooziness of this bizarre experience so many years ago. But the reason why it's important to get this stuff out, you said, nobody cares. That's not true at all. Like, it's incredible, because you've just joined basically thousands of people who have seen similar things the world over. And not only that, maybe people in this audience saw something similar and now they think they're, one iota less insane than they were. Right. And this is where those things come together in this space of talking to each other. Like I said, we need to talk to each other, because there's things happening out there that will make you go WTF. And listen to what Kelly just said. I mean, this is the type of thing that if you write people off because you're like, oh, that's nonsense, then what the hell's going on out there? Because it's not isolated. This is something that happens time and again, time and again, time and again. And I bravo for bringing the story forward. Bravo in the telling. I think we have a whole nother thread on the weird tones in your ears and the weird gate program thing that they were doing to you in the basement. I mean, that's a whole nother thread for another time. But I wonder if it's related somehow also. I mean, in terms of synchronicity and connections, like you're saying, I don't know, man. I don't know. No answer. You know me. I don't have any answers for any of this, but I do wonder how much of these connections actually play. And holy crap, man. And remember, in the very intro of this show, there's a part in there where I said, you're here for a reason. And that's the thing. Many people have seen something and they're here for that reason. And many haven't shared because they think they'll be ridiculed. They think they'll be run off on a rail and tarred and feathered and all the things, right? But that's not what we do here. Like, this is about reality. This is about the things you have seen, the things you have reacted to. And if you feel comfortable sharing them, I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate you very much for feeling comfortable enough to share it with us.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was really Kelly that kind of drew me in, man. Like, just listening to what he was saying and how he was saying it, and his just being so unsure about wanting to grapple with it. That's how I felt when I was trying to talk to you guys. And then I thought, well, the hell, I might as well just, to some degree, I've honestly felt guilty for not saying anything because like I've actually heard you point that out in the past, is that phrase where you'll say there are things happening out there and we need to talk about it, because I've heard you say that before and it's weighed on me sometimes listening to the shows. Like, man, I should probably say something, but it doesn't matter, or who cares, or whatever. I'm always trying to say, well, that doesn't matter. And so, yeah, listening to Kelly talk about his experience was like, well, shoot, man, I can tell he had a rough way to go with some of that. And I can understand that, man. So let me just unburden now so I don't have to go down that road, where I'm keeping something that's having, making me not feel good or whatever.
Amen.
But yeah, man, that's all I got, man. I'm all good.
Appreciate you very much. Untether the Trickster spirit and share it with us, and continue looking forward. And I hope it feels better for the moment, and I hope it doesn't return.
It's all good.
You're the best. Eric in Ohio. You know, we love him. Please give him a follow on all the places. You know what to do. Thank you to Gordo and company over there pinning his link tree on Rumble, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It is alphabetical. It says follow Eric right there. Can't miss it. Bingo. Go follow him in all the places. Go check out the stuff he's working on. Very smart guy. And look, you know, I had a hunch. You know, when you talk to people sort of offline, you know, sort of not publicly or less publicly in sort of a private chat, I had a feeling like he had, you know, as would be described as a close encounter, but you know, he didn't let on any of that. He just kind of was like, I just can't really say anything about it. I can't talk about it. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about it right now. And so look, these are things that happen to people and you're not alone. And that's the entire point of Troubled Minds. James, anything to add to that? We got a caller. I'm not sure who this is, but they've been waiting for a long time. So I'll give them some time here and then we'll wrap this up.
Well, just to say, yeah, I'm really grateful to Eric for sharing what he experienced. You know, just real quick, I will say I've had one experience I've never shared on a show. And it was a dream, but it felt like more than a dream because I literally felt pain in the experience. And I was in some kind of hospital-like complex. And I got outside and I felt like I escaped. But then I did not recognize where I was at, and so I ran back in, saw one of my relatives, but didn't feel like it was them. And I will just say the pain that I felt was in my rear end. And it lasted the whole experience, and it felt terrible. And eventually it faded, and I woke up. And this is a few years ago. And it felt very real. So I don't know what that was, but I felt what I felt. And yeah, this is part of why I never like to doubt or discount anyone's abduction experiences because I feel like something happened. I don't know what. I don't have memories of it happening, but I feel like I experienced the aftermath of it. So there's a first time share on a show as well for me.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And which is why James doesn't appreciate, obviously, we've talked about this in the past, that, you know, the old alien probe jokes. It's, you know, it's like, okay, so it's funny to some, but other people's it's not because there's been an experience, right? There's been, you know, like not saying that's the thing, just saying that like you kind of doubt yourself in a moment and then people kind of making light or making fun of something. It's not cool. And that's really the point of talking about these ideas in the open way that we do and considering them as possibilities of a bizarre reality. Because let me tell you what, there are things happening out there, I'll say it again, that people are experiencing that are as yet quantifiable that we should talk about. That's that. Appreciate that, James. And also, Eric, you guys are the best, as you know. Appreciate you very much. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. I don't know if you're still on the phone line. Thank you for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? And you were the final caller tonight. If you're there, welcome. And what's on your mind?
You don't know me from Missouri/Texas?
I sure do. Jay Winch, what's up, brother?
Happy 250.
You as well, sir.
Age of an Empire. So this show's been, you know, doing what it does all over the place. But it's just weird. Like if you look at what people were calling about earlier and such, like I experienced this, I experienced that. I remember calling back in, I don't know, pre the cough, if that makes sense. And I warned about a certain thing of like technology getting so advanced. And then like we're getting these deep fakes where like, I'm pretty sure you've seen reels of technology and AI, it's like, wow, that actually looks kind of legit. I mean, you have all kinds of other things, but let's go back to what you were talking about, the alien stuff and this, that, and the other. It's like, well, I've experienced it before, and ironically, like the first time I seen something fly overhead, I went from elementary school and I was kind of smart, and then all of a sudden I got super smart. And then everything disappeared after that, as far as knowledge, this, that, and the other. And I still experience stuff like that. It is what it is. But then you have the Disclosure Project. You have Spielberg, which was the original iPhone home with the Alien Project way back when with the movie. Remember that, don't you? iPhone home.
Of course, ET phone home. Yep, ET.
Yeah, ET phone home, and that was Spielberg. And nowadays, like we're like, oh, okay, cool, it's an alien, whatever, and we go back to our social media. Well, people here don't, but most of the modern world does. But at the same time, it's like, how did we advance so far, so fast in the last 70 years? If somebody didn't give us that information. And I'm pretty sure you might remember this, like when I was talking to you about the DARPA dog. Remember that? The DARPA dog?
I do. The Boston Dynamics robot dog that we were calling DARPA dogs.
Yeah, and I'll just say I'm going to run away from that conversation because I personally don't want to talk to the other version of Run.
Okay.
But then you also have I Run. I'm sure it makes sense, but that's pretty spot on that.
We've had some doozies. We've called out a lot of stuff of the future. I mean, that's the wild thing about these wide-ranging conversations is we kind of make some predictions, and many of them happen to come true. I mean, I'm not ready to say anybody's a prophet here, but certainly the collective mind space seems to be tuned into something. That's a fact.
Well, I mean, they even dropped it in a TV show. I know you don't watch movies that much, but it's like there was a TV show where a certain frequency came through, and anybody that heard the frequency, it was just done. And they disappeared, and unless you were underwater or underground, it didn't bother you. But that's where I want to go back into the first trillionaire known, in quotations, known trillionaire.
Not counting the breakaway civilization, of course.
Yeah, well, but what is he doing? He's digging holes, he's creating rockets, and he's creating robots. I won't name his name, but he had a bunch of different vehicles. He had the Model Y, he had the Model E, he had the Model S, and he had the Model X. Two of those versions, well, I'm not going to spell it out. He even laughed about it. But two of those versions of his high-end performance vehicles shut down 2 years ago. It was creating nothing but his robot.
It's coming. It's coming to a reality near you.
Exactly. The Tesla.
Yeah. SpaceX too. Just hit the stock market and went nuts too. I mean, this is all coming.
He became a trillionaire. Yeah.
Yeah. This is all coming.
Down. Two of his plants created robots. Yep. Did you also know China has a robot now? It's called the T-800. Wow. Are we in a matrix?
It's
through. I'm just laughing, but no, like you can pull it up right now and you can probably pop it up. China has robots that are sitting next to their police force, and it's called a T-800, the first iteration of an AI robot.
It's a dog, right?
No, it's a humanoid.
Okay.
It's the T-800.
Okay.
That's the first version of it. Look it up, like in less than 10 seconds. China T-800.
I'll add it to the thing. It's way too late in the night to be looking up things.
I know, but
let's wrap
somebody
this.
in chat is going to be like, "Oh shit, he's right." But
T-800. I believe you. I'm not saying I don't believe you at all. It's just too late in the night to be looking things up. Trying to wrap this down. What else you got? I mean, there's a ton in play here, and as usual, we're going to continue this great conversation. That's the whole point. God willing, we got tomorrow and the next day. What do you got for us? Help me wind this down. Final thought. Thank you for staying up late with us. Thank you for calling. Thank you for your wisdom and your experiences.
My final thought, can I put my tinfoil hat on?
Yeah, go for it.
For just a second. I mean, we're supposed to experience Super El Nino or El Nino or
Nino.
Yeah. And the last time that happened, there was issues all over the world. And how far has our magnetic north drifted in the last 20 years compared to the last 300 years? Full switch, maybe. Adam and Eve, CIA. Don't let them know it's actually going to happen. Again, all tinfoil. But, yeah, please learn how to plant a garden. Just because even if it might be some BS, worst case scenario, you're growing food at your own house.
There we go. As always, as I like to say, as many
it costs $1 to buy a pepper. Like a green pepper costs you $1. You can buy a bag of seeds for 75 cents, and you can grow 15 pepper plants.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, as they say. 100%.
Exactly, brother. And I appreciate you.
Well taken. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for being patient. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and experiences. Always a pleasure, my man. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Talk to you later, brother.
Thank you. Take care. Jay Winch in Missouri. You know him, you love him. Good friend for a long time. Always lighting it on fire and always stressing about the growing your food. I think it's incredibly important. I mean, I'm chopping weeds out that are growing like maniacs over here in the yard. Why couldn't it be peppers and potatoes and all the things we're supposed to have? That's a great point. Thank you for the call. Thank you for everybody for staying up late with us tonight. Thank you for dealing with me rambling through the wind down of a narrative. I don't know. The whole point is that I'm not supposed to know everything. Yeah, shocker, right? No crap, Mike. But I do sense that there's something happening, and that's why it's important to talk about these things, because just because you haven't seen something, as was said very smartly earlier, doesn't mean it's not real. So, what do you know? Also, keep an open mind, just not so open that your brain falls out, right? And you decide where that threshold is. I don't know. That's it. That's what I got. That's the whole point of this. Again, thank you for all the experiences tonight. Thank you for all the places you've been and seen. Thank you for being human. That's what it's about. That's what this has always been about. And look, I don't even know other than it's what brings me back. Other humans, other smart humans that are also here for a reason. That's the point. Yeah, I've seen some things. I've told you about them on the show. Nothing dramatic or anything like that. But there's enough things out there that I've seen that make me wonder what the hell's going on out there. That's it. If you want to help us, help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. Please. Like I said, if you enjoy even a moment from this show, go spend some time and help them. Go follow these amazing people that have made this show go and supported the show over the years. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. Lots of people there. Please do that. That's the whole point. Let's help each other. If we're not helping each other, what the hell are we doing? If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we're not going to tell you to vote for. Every narrative does not devolve into some binary political space, which is ridiculous. Okay? I said it, and I'll say it again. Every time I hear people talking politics, I just want to punch myself in the face. They're not talking to each other. They're running a program. And they're doubling and tripling down on ideas that don't make sense at all. And it feels as if they enjoy arguing. They enjoy the fight. They enjoy tripling down on bad ideas because they're supposed to. And when I say running a program, I mean it. So what program are you running? Think about it. It's something I ask myself all the time. Is what I'm doing what I want to be doing? Or have I been prepped and programmed for the moment? Yeah, it's deep. We'll get to that another time. Do you want to help us directly spread the word? Do you want to buy some merch and all the rest of that? Shout out to Steve in England and your buddy Ted. We won't forget. He just purchased Steve, by the way, he just purchased a Troubled Mind shirt. Thank you for that. Many of you also have. But he goes around the world to these different places, the pyramids and stuff, and takes pictures of himself in the Troubled Mind shirt. How cool is that? The Troubled Minds pilgrimage going on out there. You guys are the best. Thanks for staying up late. Thanks for caring about the ideas. Thanks for all the support and lending an ear and sharing experiences. And thanks for being human. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.